Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Sesternino back here to talk about the 28th best season of Survivor. Tonight, we are talking all about Survivor Fiji. We're going to talk about the haves and the have-nots and everything in between from the 14th season of Survivor. Very excited to have you back here with us another Wednesday as we are continuing our top 40 season countdown. So let's meet our panel of Fiji lovers who are here to talk about this season. First, a man who spoke with me all through February about Pirate Master. Of course, please welcome the great star of the Wand-Off and more. Aaron Robertson is here. Aaron, how are you?
Salutations, Rob. I'm ready to start the podcast.
Yes.
We need people
Sylvia?
on the PP.
Sylvia,
Yes.
is that you?
We need people in the kitchen.
You seem a little scoot.
It's non-orthogonal.
Yes. Aaron is wearing a Bula Bula merge buff, of course, if you were listening to the podcast version, and very excited to talk about Fiji with you. And then also, we are so lucky here tonight to have perhaps the biggest Survivor Fiji lover and defender on the internet. Please welcome Gia Worthy is here. Gia, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm quite honored to have such a big title, but I am very excited to be representing the Fiji lovers for this podcast. And I can't wait to get into everything that I absolutely love about it and why it is, spoiler alert, it's ranked way too low.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, I'm very excited to hear everything that you two think about Survivor Fiji. We'll go through the whole season. We've got some feedback questions from the listeners. We have a survey as well that we will talk about from our listeners. And then over the weekend, on our patron feedback show every week, I do a second podcast about the season where I get to so many of the feedback questions that we aren't able to get to tonight. And I'll be doing that this weekend with Stan Tsai in our patron podcast feed. Of course, it's the start of a brand new month. Great time to jump in and check out everything we are doing over on Patreon at robhasawebsite.com/patron here in the month of April. But let's talk about Survivor Fiji. And Gia, let me start with you because I know that you love Fiji so much. Can you talk a little bit about your background with this season and what is it in particular that makes this such an iconic season for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am a huge Survivor fan in general. I've seen every season. I've been hooked on it since I was a kid. I was around 12 years old when Fiji was airing, not to age myself or anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But
was that a shot, Gia?
No, it was not. I promise.
Okay.
I promise.
Yes.
But I was about 12 when Fiji first aired. And as a Black biracial woman, it was still kind of in a place where I was figuring out my own racial identity and what that meant to me. And a big part of that was watching shows like Survivor, where you can find some real examples in a competitive environment. So I didn't watch some of the earlier seasons live just because I was too young. So Fiji was actually the first season that I saw that had a Black winner. And to also have it be a season where this is the only all-Black final three that we've ever had in the show's history. And it happens to be two players, Cassandra and Dreams, that I admire both of them a lot. And I really enjoyed their gameplay, which I'm sure we'll get into a lot more into the podcast. And Earl is a phenomenal winner already. And he's probably one of my favorite winners that we've ever had on the show. But so I think there was the enjoyment of the final three as players and their different stories, their different underdog stories to get to the end, but combined with the fact that this was the first time I saw a Black winner on the show, it really resonated with me, and it really was a comfort, despite how, you know, some of the jury questions were really uncomfortable to watch, and some of the moments in the show were less than exciting to, or less than joyful to watch as well. But I think something that a lot of people that enjoy this season can resonate with as well is that despite the flaws, because there are a lot of flaws in this season, the journey of the final three and their eventual success getting to the end and their stories along the way does matter, and it means a lot to viewers, and particularly Black fans that were able to watch this and rewatch it in real time and really see these stories play out the way they did.
Thank you for all that, Gia. Aaron, how about for you? What was it about Fiji that made you want to talk about this season with us?
Yeah, it's Survivor Fiji. My love for this season is only eclipsed by my love for Guatemala, Pearl Islands, and Marquesas. But for me, Survivor
Mount Rushmore.
Fiji, yes, Mount Rushmore. Fiji came along in 2007. It was that big year. We got the Pirate Master and the Kid Nation and all that. So it's already a special year for me. And I was 13 when I watched this season. And I don't think it really dawned on me when I was watching how important it was to see Black people and people of color and their stories just in general on television, and having people that I could relate to on screen for one of the first times in my viewing experience. Survivor Fiji, I think, is one of the most important seasons in Survivor history. And I often refer to it as the Survivor Borneo of the modern Survivor era, and it's not close. I think there are so many important things. It's the birthplace of the modern hidden immunity idol.
Yes.
It is, if you want to see what season 41 and beyond could look like in terms of diversity, look here at Survivor Fiji. This really is a cast where a diverse group of people are just divided in tribes and they're just playing. There's no racial division or anything like that. It's just, here's the game. And there's a lot of fundamental things that happen in this season that show up later throughout time. So for me, and what Survivor Fiji suffers from for me is that it's season 14. And since then, we've had pretty much almost twice the amount of seasons on our screen since then, 26, and now, with 41 and 42 filming 28. And at the time, a lot of people thought, it was bad. When you're watching something current on TV, like, this is the worst season ever, and you kind of do that every season. And I feel like for Fiji, because it was so early, and it was one of those early seasons that had that reputation, it kind of stuck. And so I don't think people have really gone back and looked at this season since then, because I feel like a lot of things in a modern light actually look a lot different and are a lot more less damning, I would say, against the season now than before.
Yeah, this is an interesting season for me to go back and talk about also, because it comes at a point where, I was very early on, like third or fourth episode of the series. I was on board. I had my experience where I played the show and then was involved with it. Then after I played twice, and then I played or started to get into doing some coverage of the show. But I was burnt out on Survivor after 13 seasons of it being so close to it. So this was actually the first time in my Survivor career, or in the career of Survivor, where I took a year off. I didn't watch this season in the real time, and I didn't watch China in the real time. And I just sort of heard anecdotally about what was going on. So I didn't really see this for the first time until a couple of years after the fact, and then watched it for TEOS. And then this was my third time going back through it. But I have to say that I feel like that certainly, I feel like that there are slower points in the pre-merge, but there's a lot here to unpack. And I feel like that, especially once you hit the merge, there's a lot of momentum. And then, everything with Yao Man and Dreams really unfolds in the finale. So there is they really build towards the end of the season. So I think there is a lot of exciting things to go through. I want to go back to the twist, though, for this season. because I think a lot of the negativity around the season does come out of this idea of haves and have-nots. And Gia, that I think I said this in the evolution of strategy, but I feel like that what the production was going for was, hey, people loved it in Palau when there was a season where one tribe just totally dominated the other. There was the tribe of winners, and then we got to watch the struggle of the tribe of losers. And let's try to build that up. But to me, I just feel like that I don't know what they were thinking with this haves and have-nots idea.
I honestly, and I've rewatched Fiji before as well, but this, I rewatched it this past week for this podcast too. I forgot just how much the Haves tribe had. They had a shower. We hear about their toilet every couple of minutes in the first episode about how they get this new toilet. They have a floor and a roof to their shelter, and then they also keep winning rewards where they get extra fishing gear. They also got cutlery and plates and cups and all this other stuff just for winning the first reward, where they already got this nice camp that they spent so much time on, and a couch and a hammock. I don't even know if I listed everything yet. They just had so much. And then Ravu, when they lost that first reward, they got a pot and a machete. Was the disparity between the two tribes was insane. I feel like this could have even been improved if it was just if it had just lessened the difference between the two tribes automatically. But yeah, I completely forgot about how big of a difference these two tribes experienced during this season.
It also seemed, Aaron, like they had food also, the Moto tribe. Like they had like rations of food that the other tribe didn't have, even before they started winning rewards.
Yeah, it was nuts. I was sitting here watching this going like, I cannot believe just how much they have. And as far as the location goes, I know that Fiji has basically two main big islands, and 33 and Beyond take place on the other one, and this is on the second one. But there was just a lot of fruit. And like when I saw them in the morning with their coffee and their cups and their big plate of rice and their mangoes, and I'm just going like, what is happening? This year we had a little bit of Survivor on Big Brother Canada. This is like if you took Big Brother and you put it on Survivor. Like, what if we put those elements in, like haves and have-nots? And then, I mean, we even get the four horsemen. So it was very jarring to look at. And I agree with Gia. If they had just lessened the amount that they had, like, just like basic necessities, maybe like some fishing gear and maybe a good shelter that's already built, and maybe like that's it, because it's not like these tribes were all that uneven in their strength. I mean, a lot of these challenges,
Sylvia did a good job.
Were pretty close, yeah. And I think
it's level. They're even.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for Sylvia. She was just automatically, no matter what she did, she was not getting the camp that she worked so hard to help build. That was so mean. I felt terrible for her.
Yeah. I feel really bad for Sylvia. But those challenges were so close. And if it was not for the extra energy that Moto had, I really do think Ravu could have certainly snagged a couple of these along the way, and it'd been much more even. It's like South Pacific, except if one tribe just kept winning, basically, in terms of the evenness.
They were close a couple times.
Yeah. And Gia, it seems like that they really, like, not only did they give the one tribe everything that typically on Survivor, you're the team that loses the first challenge. All right, you lost. You have your torch. Here's Flint to go home. And for whatever reason, they would not give these people a flint. I don't think they get it until like day 6 or 7, which is insane.
They wouldn't give them flint until one of them made fire with glasses, which is very difficult to do.
Yes. Yeah, good job, Michelle.
So they're spending the first 2 rounds of like 6 days, so 2 rounds of the game, licking leaves and trying to find pineapples or mangoes or whatever they can find around this island. Oh my god.
How many times did they show the clip of them licking the leaves to get the water?
Anthony suggested the palm fronds are the best ones to get the water from.
Makes sense.
That was a really rough one. Did they do something to them in the first like few days before the island? Like, what did Ravu do that they like could not get any break whatsoever?
Nope. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No building equipment, no fire,
nothing.
It didn't seem like they had a well anywhere near. I was not sure what was that setup. It sucked. It was so bad. I feel so bad for them.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that to them, where in Survivor All-Stars, they didn't give anybody flint. They said for Survivor All-Stars, everybody has to know how to make fire. And I think that we went 4 days in Survivor All-Stars where like, so I have a baseline of what that's like to go so long without getting any water. And I used to like dream of like being at like a water fountain and then wake up. It's like, oh, it was just a dream. So why they let these new players go so long in this game is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially since a lot of the players this season, everyone except Gary was a recruit, and even Earl of all people admitted that he hadn't seen the show before he went on, and I'm sure there were several players like that as well. So the fact that some of these players really don't know what they're getting into at the time, and they all have jobs in like advertising or business, so it's not like they're know how to get water or food resources in their spare time either. So it was a very interesting way to, I feel like they were trying to really make it clear that one tribe has everything and one tribe has nothing, but it does not land the same way that I think they wanted it to. It doesn't make the show more compelling because you see who wins everything. And some of the times the challenges were so close, but it's the fact that one tribe's starving and dehydrated and can't keep their facts straight that loses them the challenge. So it's definitely, that was probably one of the biggest flaws of the season, but particularly in the pre-merge when it's the most pertinent of just how bad things were for them.
Yeah. Aaron, do you remember Opposite Worlds?
Oh, I remember Opposite Worlds, yes.
Which was, I think it was a 2013 or 2014. Where they basically tried to recreate this. They were like, oh, people love this on Survivor Fiji. We'll have one team that like will live in a cave as cave people, and the other team will live in the future. And it was the same sort of idea of if you lose, then you would go to the other camp, and that did not get picked up for a second season either. I also think another big difference between this season and Palau, that I feel like that the team that is dominating, Aaron, I think that this Moto tribe is one of the more unlikable tribes in the history of the show.
It's just their behavior towards each other was just so weird, and I don't like fighting over things like how to make coffee and just generally rude. Like they are all rude at different points in the show. Now, some of them, like Stacy, do have a growth narrative towards the end that people do acknowledge, which is good. But not really rooting for Moto in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. It was it was tough to like the team that was the underdog, like they keep losing, where that there were things about Karor, you could root for them. It was like that they were just like winning because of that, they just like were working harder than Oolong. But here it seemed like you're rooting for everybody over at Ravu, and then it's also like the Moto tribe is being horrible.
Yeah. there were definitely some characters on both tribes, but Moto, it just seems their confidence at the very least got so inflated by the fact that they were winning everything, but the fact that they have all these things handed to them at the very beginning of the game makes that confidence worse, and it comes off as undeserved. Obviously, they still participate in the challenges, they're giving their all during it, but they're well fed, they've showered, they've gotten water, where the Rabu tribe hasn't gotten any of that. But then we see their camp life, and it's bullying or excluding some of the other tribe mates. That core 5 is probably where the most unlikable dynamics come in, particularly that awful segment of Lisi judging Liliana right before. Like, we don't see a lot of Liliana, and the part that we do, a large part of her story arc is dictated by Lisi, who just does not like her and is looking for the next opportunity to vote her out, which she gets her wish when they give up immunity. Gary seems to be really nice, but then he gets evacuated.
They're kind of Gary too. Also, they're like, look, Gary's not doing good, but we don't want to take care of him. That's not what we signed up
Lisi
for.
was so weird with him.
Was like, she was like, Lisi saying she doesn't want to babysit Gary if he's not feeling well. Meanwhile,
Gary, shut up.
And then meanwhile, I'm sorry, that's not funny, but also that's what happened. And then, and then you see the players that are being more sympathetic, Cassandra, Dreams. I think this is part of the reason why I enjoy this story, is because I know that they are the ones that beat the rest of their tribe at the end. But the fact that they went through so much in the beginning, and they have that awful segment where we can clearly see that they do not fit in with the rest of their tribe. They're sitting at a separate table. No one really seems to care about whether or not they feel included until they realize that, oh, this might come back to bite us once the merge hits. And then by then it's too late, because Dreams and Cassandra clearly already know what they're doing in that instance.
Yeah, there's a point. I think it's Alex who sort of does the math. It's like, oh, wait a second. We've been very rude to Dreams and Cassandra, and when we merge, they're gonna flip. We need to pretend to be nice to them, which then it seems like other people on the tribe are not really getting that concept.
Alex trying to explain math to Lisi and Stacy and Boo was pretty funny moment, if not, even though I wished it was under better circumstances. But Alex kind of explaining why they need to keep Dreams and Cassandra happy, and Lisi being like, oh, who cares if they flip? And Alex is, we should care if they flip, because all these terrible things will happen, which is exactly what ended up happening.
And Aaron, nobody would teach Dreams how to use the French press. Like, Dreams was homeless. Like, he doesn't have a French press. Okay.
I just the logic of these people being,
I have
mad.
one, and they're complicated.
Yeah. Like, I don't drink coffee. I wouldn't know what to do with it if I was out there. And the fact that they wouldn't even teach him, like, they were mad that he didn't know how to do it, but wouldn't want to teach him. And Alex is going there like, I don't know how to do it either. Could you please teach Dreams? Like, what is going on here? I actually grew a little bit more of an appreciation for Alex and Edgardo over this season, more than I originally did. I think I appreciated them more as players. I feel like they were a lot more socially aware than everybody else in that core 5. And we kind of see it in moments like this where Alex is, defending Dreams and going like, why aren't you like, just please teach him how to do it. He has to ask them to tell him how to do it so that Dreams knows how to do it. It's crazy.
Yeah, especially among that group, those guys were fine. I mean, I feel like that even Alex, now it's not until the final tribal council that he really is like coming out and being a jerk through at the final tribal council. But I feel like that both those guys, I feel like, were pretty well or like at least compared to some of the other people that they were around, like had like decent enough social games.
Yeah.
They seem to be fairly well-rounded overall. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I know we're talking so much about Moto here to start because I think there's probably more meat on the bone for Ravu. But in another thing that makes this Moto group so unlikable is that they actually have a point where they've won, I think, their 4th consecutive immunity, and then they get a note that says, "All right, well, what do you value more, the immunity or your camp?" And they say, all right, we'll go to tribal council and vote somebody out. Now, Aaron, I feel like in Survivor One World that when the men go to tribal council and that they elect to go to tribal council, I mean, that's talked about as one of the dumbest moves of all time. Why would the men that they were immune, why would they go to tribal council? I thought that Moto gets a free pass on this.
Yeah, I don't know why they got a free pass. They shouldn't. They really should not. Just because momentum is so important in a game like Survivor. And I mean, I know in that situation, I mean, Ravu is gaining something, whether it's immunity or luxury themselves. So Moto was in a tough spot, but still, like, numbers are so important, and giving up one of your numbers just so you could keep the camp, I'll bait for maybe like 1 or 2 rounds afterwards. Like,
it didn't seem like anybody objected. Like, it didn't seem like one person was like, "Hey, should we talk this over?"
Like, did you not? Now, granted, a factor here too is that unlike now, seasons were filmed during other seasons. So Cook Islands had barely begun when they started filming this. So and that's something that we should also keep in the back of our minds too, is that they did not know that this was a final 3. They thought it was a final 2, but they also didn't see that bottle twist in Cook Islands.
Yes,
which was not good either. So they didn't even have the wherewithal to be cautious about maybe we shouldn't give up our immunity here at this tribal. Maybe they might make us vote 2 people out at tribal council if we're not careful.
Yeah, Gia, you mentioned the vote out of Liliana, and that's what happens at this vote. So not only do they go to tribal council, Moto, but they take Liliana, who seemed like that she was like a solid number for that group, and they vote her out, who ultimately, like, when push comes to shove, like, I think the other people that were being talked about at that time, Cassandra, who ultimately is going to flip against them, or even somebody like Lee. They probably weren't going to vote out Lisi in that spot, but they definitely they give in to Lisi, who says we have to vote out Liliana, which I think ends up biting them.
Yeah, I think that was it's hard because with that flip, or with that decision to pick immunity over or pick the camp over immunity, I think it's interesting because the fact that their camp is so nice and they know they've been getting all these wins from a really, really nice camp, this very luxurious camp, when they do these with this, by giving up immunity, they are getting to keep this camp, and in their logic, probably getting more wins out of it. So it's kind of like we sacrifice one person for hopefully a couple more rounds of the vote out. Before merge, I don't think Liliana was their best choice there, especially knowing that they kept people that did not make merge or people that were going to flip on them eventually. So I'm glad they didn't vote out Cassandra.
Yeah.
Probably not in their best interest to keep someone that they have not been treating well for the extended period of time that they've been there at that point. But it's interesting. I really, especially since we see how Lisi eventually pseudo quits or just isn't sure whether or not she wants to be there. Liliana seemed to be very strong in the challenges that they were in. We didn't see a whole lot of her while she was there, but she seemed like if she wanted, she seemed content enough in her position that she probably would have stuck with them. Who knows how she would have affected the tribe swap, but she seemed to be a pretty loyal number to them at that point. So, and I feel like they sacrificed, they chose luxury for their first round or two, for another round or two, for the long term, losing numbers and effectively the game based on how the tribe swaps and the eventual merge turned out.
Yeah, because there's so many close votes at the merge. If you sub out Liliana sub in Liliana for Cassandra there, who flips to the Earl side, like there are like that 5-4 votes or 5-3-1 votes that are potentially going in a different way. She could have been the one horsewoman.
The one horsewoman. I mean, I'm glad it didn't happen, but maybe another time.
I'm just saying, but I think it completely changes the season. Let's talk about the Ravu and all of their struggles. And it is frustrating for them because you want them to end up getting a win under their belt, and they end up going to tribal after tribal after tribal. And I think it also ends up being not so great for the women of the season because they are at such a disadvantage to try to win these challenges that they're looking at like, okay, well, who is potentially the people who are not performing in the challenges? And I think it's the first 5 vote outs of the season, and then also Gary's medical evacuation. But I think the first 5 vote outs of the season are women, including Liliana. So that ends up sort of also like making the first part of the season seem like it's like basically like a Groundhog's Day.
Yeah. And it was while it was interesting in those first couple of votes, I mean, the more it went on, it was just like, I mean, we're kind of seeing the same similar story over and over again, is sort of developing in different ways, especially given the fact that our 20th castaway leaving already had, more men than women to start the season. And with the whole Exile Island thing, then there was only 4 women on each tribe to start and basically for the whole game. So it was not really advantageous for them.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the 20th cast member, Melissa McNulty, who Jeff tells us in the opening of like the conditions here were so intense that we even had one contestant quit the game right before it started. I think that might have been hyperbole.
It was a very dramatic way to start the season. They were definitely wanting to emphasize how intense this season was going to be. I agree with everything that Aaron said, that it's really unfortunate that I don't think that was the primary reason that the women were put at an advantage, but it definitely sets the tone for the women are already outnumbered going into it. And then as soon as Ravu loses the first challenge, they're saying, oh, well, obviously we got to get rid of a woman. We just have to figure out which woman we're getting rid of. So definitely disappointing. Melissa, the 20th contestant that never was. I wonder how she would have lasted on, I mean, maybe she would have done well on Moto, but definitely would have been interesting on a Ravu if she ended up on the Ravu setup. So maybe she did make the right call. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Aaron, do we know, has anybody ever talked to Melissa McNulty?
I don't know if people have talked with Melissa McNulty. I know that she did have a bit of notoriety after the show, just because of the fact that this happened. But from what I understand, I guess she had some panic attacks before the game began, and on the first day of filming, they sat down with production and they sort of went over, okay, is it a good call for Melissa to play? They decided no, with probably good reason for this particular season, especially with have-nots. I don't know if that really would have been the best conditions for Melissa. But her leaving does probably change maybe a lot about how this season looks, especially if they were trying to do literally a Cook Islands 2.0 here.
Do you believe that was the case? That do we think that they were going for trying to do the same sort of tribe breakdown that they were going to do? Because you need 4 camps for that. Like I don't know. I don't know if they were set up for that. Gio, as our one of our Fiji historians, do you know if that's actually accurate?
I don't know, actually. I've heard both sides of it, that yes, that was the plan. I don't know why they would do that twice, especially since they just are, I believe Cook Islands had maybe 1 or 2 episodes out, enough for them to have already gotten backlash for dividing tribes by race the first time. So I'm hoping that's not what they were going to do, but they would have had the numbers for it. It was the same, I believe it was the same type of division. I'm really hoping that was not the instance for it. But even when that first couple days, they're kind of just wandering around, figuring out what their plan is with 19 contestants. So it's I'm not sure if that's how that would have gone.
Yeah. I had seen some postings recently about how that they had done so much, especially talking about how everybody here is a recruit, that they did such a wide casting search for Survivor Cook Islands, that there were a lot of people that they found during the search for trying to fill out these different tribes in Cook Islands, that there are a lot of people who came in from that and they used them here in Survivor Fiji. So what about the theme of cannibalism here, which is so different? Because it's weird, because we spend years in Fiji now, and there's no talk of cannibalism, and it's very heavy-handed about how, if you're watching this at home, it's like, oh, I don't want to go to Fiji. That's cannibals there. I'm going to stay out there. And there's so much talk about everything is with a bone. So much talk about we're eating each other. Or is this where the cannibals live? Aaron, they make Fiji to be a very scary place.
Yeah, I mean, it's even an answer to a puzzle that Michelle figures out in 2 seconds, Cannibal Isles. So definitely going with that cannibal theme. Now we're going to cannibalize each other at the end. Yeah, there was a lot of cannibal talk for this season, which I guess in a season where people are starving and some people are living rich, maybe cannibal starts to come to the forefront of people's mind. I don't know what people think about when they're really, really starving, but it could have made for some interesting dilemmas out there.
Gia, they work very closely with the Fijian Ministry of Tourism now. I wonder if there's hey, could you guys drop the cannibal thing?
Maybe a few less skulls at tribal council or on their tiki torches might have been one of their suggestions. That was probably one of the first things I wrote for the tribal council set on the first one, is there's an uncomfortable level of skulls here and crossbones, and the immunity necklace is a bunch of tusks
so ugly
around. It was awkward to see it just dangling there. It's just a little collection of bones. Kind of cool when you wear it, but they were very heavy on the cannibal theme for a season where one tribe is starving and dying of dehydration.
Yeah. And another element actually that was going on during the season, I don't know if it's really talked about often, but there was a lot of political turmoil during the season.
There was a coup, right?
Yeah, there was a coup on day 37, officially, of the game when that happened. So that month leading up to it, there was a lot of unrest. That's why they didn't have a family visit, was because of not having family out there during all of that. It was very important. So maybe they were just thinking war, skulls, just gotta put the survivors in the midst of that, I guess.
Okay. So let's just talk a little bit more about what's going on at Ravu. Because we're talking about like very tough conditions, and also that the group is not really getting along, and a lot of that sort of discord that's going on in that tribe stems from Rocky and Gio. We get so much Rocky in the pre-merge.
There's a lot of Rocky.
He's a go-to guy for Jeff.
There's an uncomfortable level of skulls, and there's an uncomfortable level of Rocky breakdowns in the pre-merge, and it doesn't help that he got swapped onto the Have-Not tribe again.
Yes.
That was Rocky. Right? Rocky had it rough. He did not make it easier for himself.
Yeah.
And Mookie. I feel worse for Mookie since he did not have as many breakdowns during that whole thing, but Rocky, Anthony, and Mookie, none of them really got a break for going on the Ravu tribe to swapping back onto the Have-Not,
especially
camp
Anthony.
Yeah. I know we're going to talk about Rocky, but I just want to say beforehand, Anthony was such a great pre-merge narrator.
Yes.
I really wish we could have had him on merge. He was one spot away, but the Rocky cannot seem to be happy in any circumstance on the Ravu camp. Their tribe is losing everything. He is mad that Anthony stayed over Erica, even though Rocky was the one that said we needed to get rid of Erica, which was like, that was one of my other notes. It was like, this is a weird thing to bring up when that's your fault. But every time they lose, he's throwing things. He's starting fights with the other camp when they're coming onto the challenges. Like Boo had some mango at one point, and Rocky had an issue with it. So it was Rocky. Rocky was not the most zen character.
Yeah, I will say that mango thing, that was a little extra, because as a survivor, if you brought food to like a challenge, I think this happened in South Pacific also. I think I think Coach's tribe brought some, like they were like eating fruit at tribe. Like that's showing up the other team. Don't do that, Boo. Rocky, he doesn't always have a point, but I thought he was in the right on that one.
Boo was probably like the opposite of Rocky, because he's always so chill because he got the nice camp for the entire time that they were there.
Yeah, him and Cassandra, they didn't have to ever give it up. Or Stacy. Yes, Aaron, what were you gonna say about Rocky?
Yeah, Rocky is somebody that, even watching for when I was 13, I was like, ooh, I don't know what it would be like to live with Rocky at camp. I mean, he was even fighting with Dreams on night one next to the shelter where people are sleeping. And Earl's like, can you all go somewhere out? Like, why are you doing this right now? And I feel like I've come to understand Rocky a little bit more actually on this watch. Voting out people is hard. And sometimes in order to justify voting people out, a lot of people might go to finding reasons not to like the person in order to feel justified in voting them out. And he did that a lot, even with people that he was aligned with. He just found some reason to not like them. Here's the person that I don't like of the day, and here's X reasons why we got to get them out, and we got to vote them out, and trying to convince others to do the same. And also to briefly touch on Anthony, I do want to say to you, if you are listening to this, Anthony, you are an inspiration to me. You were somebody that it was maybe the closest to ever seeing me on a show like this. Seeing a fellow Black nerd on television, it was so inspiring to see. And I cannot thank you enough for being unapologetically yourself. And we'll talk about your accounts when we get to it. But just wanted to say that to you, somebody who has a very similar name to mine. We're both AR is Robertson. They often tell me confuse my last name with Robertson anyway, so I feel like we're practically family at this point. But yes, Anthony, you're an inspiration to me.
And Anthony is going to be on the podcast this week. That we're going to have him on with T-Bird this weekend. So that if he, for any chance that he missed that, we'll clip this part of the podcast and play it for him.
Okay.
So looking forward to catching up with him. First time that he's been on the podcast. So we'll talk to him. But yeah, Rocky is just everywhere. And look, there is some entertainment that comes. Like, he does have some lighter moments, but he's so much. He's so much to handle. Like, but it comes like at the expense of like getting to know like a lot of the other people in this tribe. It's like so much of it is based on what Rocky thinks about all these other people. And he, was he that great in the challenges, Gia?
I don't remember him being particularly great. I know Mookie I forgot how well Mookie did on a lot of these challenges. He seemed to really be as close to a saving grace as they could get in some of these challenges. But I don't remember him being particularly good in some of them. I remember the sumo one he lost against Dreams both times that he played.
It was a rivalry, Jeff said.
The rivalry. That wasn't even that wasn't even Rocky's top rivalry of that day. That was but apparently there's a rivalry. But yes, so it was I don't think he was terrible. There were some pretty clear mess ups in these challenges on both sides of the teams, which I think was one of the reasons why sometimes we were, all right, maybe even watching this again, I knew Ravu lost everything, but I'm like, oh, but they're so close. Maybe my memory's wrong and they get a win, but they didn't. But they were close a couple of times, but I don't think he was particularly great either.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say then he was very big on getting the women out during the challenges so that they could stay strong. But a lot of these immunity challenges were not physical where they needed brute strength in it. So it was odd that this is something that the tribe just kind of continued to have be the norm on their tribe.
Let's just talk about some of the people that we lose at Ravu. We lose Jessica, who seemingly didn't do anything wrong, Aaron, other than she was just friends with Rocky.
Yeah, that was the weird thing to me, was that like the first alliance we see form in the game is between Erica and Jessica, and they pull in Rocky, and then they don't help each other at all. Like, they all vote for different people at this first tribal, which was wild to me. There was just no coordination. So I don't really know what happened with Jessica. And I guess because they were picking between the girls, obviously Michelle had close ties to Earl. Rita had close ties to Anthony. And Erica had close ties to Earl and Anthony. Yeah. So Jessica was kind of odd woman out there. I'm guessing that's pretty much maybe what happened there.
Yeah, well, maybe to go back to your theory of this being the Borneo of the new generation, Rocky votes for Mookie, Erica votes for Yao-Man, and Jessica votes for Rita. And all three of those people, that is the only one vote that each of those other three people get.
Yeah, I remember. I forgot about this first one. I remember when I first saw it live, I was like, wait a minute, we got no explanation. How are all these people getting votes at this first
that was
tribal?
Wild.
Yeah, it was very... interesting. And Yao-Man's from Borneo, so there's that too.
Yeah, so it's all coming together. So then Erica ends up being the second person voted out, and she was tight with Earl, but Earl goes to Exile Island on her vote, and they make it that she was like shouting too much in the challenge, Gia, but the show never tells us, like, was she right? Do we know?
I don't know if we were right. I went back a couple times to see if that was the right peg that they were talking about. It doesn't seem like she could have been right, because I don't think the other pegs that they had were right either. So I don't know if they figured it out, because people weren't listening to her. And by the time they were starting to switch things up a little bit, Moto had already won.
Yeah.
But maybe they should have listened to Erica because
I don't get it.
Yeah. She seemed to know what she was doing.
Usually you vote out the person who screws up the puzzle, not the person who is telling you like what to do in the puzzle.
Yeah, I think Moto's choice of sending Earl to exile is ultimately what sent Erica home. I think if Earl was there, there is absolutely no way that Erica was going at that second tribal
She
council.
found the pineapple.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
And I feel like something to keep in mind, and Dreams alludes to this at the reunion, is that there is 1,000% a Black Alliance that was formed at the beginning of the game.
Yes.
And the goal is to get, all of them as far as possible. So yeah, I definitely think Earl, Anthony, and Erica were kind of looking out for each other over on Ravu, and obviously Cassandra and Dreams over on Moto were very tight in that way as well. So I think yeah, with Earl's influence gone, then the power kind of shifted over to Rocky and Mookie, who I guess had formed something. I don't know why Rocky dropped Erica of all people, because isn't he alive?
They kept Sylvia in on that vote.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
It was not,
really
that was an odd one.
Yeah.
Over Sylvia. I really do think Erica definitely could have been good at those next two challenges, the sliding one and the eating. Yeah, I think definitely Erica could have been good at that. So I don't know why they got rid of her over Sylvia.
Yeah, and then Sylvia is eventually then going to go home at the next tribal council. Do you think that Sylvia was a plant in that basically they wanted to have like somebody to come in and build these architectural plans that they had laid out? It's like, okay, all right, we need to cast an architect.
I put my tinfoil hat on during that first episode and was like, there is a reason they had an architect, and then all of these very intense plans for how they were building this structure, and then she doesn't even get to live there. It was rude. I felt so bad for her, but she was there. Apparently she came off as bossy, but she was the only one that had any experience building this type of structure with all of its intricacies that went into this to this shelter for that season, and then they shipped her off to Exile Island to be part of whatever team lost.
Yeah. We haven't talked much about Exile Island. Exile Island gets sort of like done up a little bit from where we've seen it in the past 2 seasons, where it's sort of like just like a shipwrecked island. But here we have a very scary Exile Island. They tell us all about the sea snakes. Aaron, that seems very dangerous to have an Exile Island filled with deadly sea snakes.
Yeah, South Island, otherwise known as Exile Island in this season.
I think it's Earl Island.
Well, basically it is. Basically, it's Earl Island. I miss the Sea Snake Island. They really should go back there. I'm surprised we haven't seen it in all these newer seasons. But yeah, they basically changed up the idol rules this season, and these idol rules are really going to be a staple for pretty much every season afterwards, really, with a few changes here and there going forward. And I kind of like how Exile Island, you get the clue and it's back at camp, which is also a staple that we know and love now. But something that I forgot about was the fact that the idol holder had to play it themselves. I guess they couldn't really play it on anybody else, which makes for some interesting wrinkles in there in the merge, of course.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even notice that. It was that was something that Jeff said, that the person who has the idol has to play it themselves, and you can't play it on another person.
Yeah, because this is the first time that there's an idol at both camps. Guatemala, it was just hidden in the merge. Exile Island is just one. Same with Cook Island. So here in Fiji now, there's one on both camps, and I mean, we haven't really seen people playing it on other people because Cook Islands was after the votes are read. This is the first time that we have an idol being played before the votes are read. So we haven't gotten to the point where idols are transferable, but they're not playable on anybody other than the
Do
person.
you know when does that come into play of that you could play an idol on another person?
I'm trying to think about this.
No, we'll save that for Jordan Kalish. Yeah.
It would have to be before Samoa, I would think, because I think that's or maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, so somewhere along the way, we'll find. Well, listen. Don't worry. We'll get 10,000 responses on Twitter to tell us exactly when it happened. But yeah, we then also lose Rita, who was somebody else. Didn't really get to know too much about Rita except she likes makeup.
Yeah, I kind of paid attention a lot more to people like Rita and Liliana to kind of see their stories in here. There was a lot of conversations between Rita and Anthony, which leads me to believe that they were working together on some level in the game. And for some reason, yeah, in her boot episode, we really kind of look at her from Rocky's perspective because we're zooming in on her mouth and she's just having a conversation, like which everybody does. But they keep zooming in on her mouth, like talking is this foreign concept in Survivor, and only Rita is talking this much. It was very weird to look at, but I guess they had to come up with something for why she goes. But she also is known as the person that quote unquote ruined Earl's perfect game here by
they don't acknowledge it. Yeah, she does cast a vote for Earl at one of these tribal councils on the Sylvia tribal council. She says she's doing something different. She's not doing what the tribe is doing. But I believe like that Jeff talks about how Earl, he never had his name written down the whole season other than to win the game. They're just like, no, we're just gonna erase that Rita vote. That did not happen. Nice try, Rita.
Yeah, that doesn't exist.
Does not count. Yeah. Use Earl's idol there on that. We haven't talked too much about Earl and everything that he has going on. And I think that Earl's a very underrated narrator of a Survivor season.
Yeah, he's a fantastic narrator, fantastic player overall. I know during a lot of these seasons, you set someone up to have a lot of strategy talk, and a lot of times that doesn't end up working at some point during the game. But a lot of his confessionals are related to strategy, what his plan is moving forward, who are his moving parts in the plan, and that ends up being exactly what's going on and what's happening. He has some really funny confessionals as well, just some funny moments throughout the season too. So I don't want to act like he was just a game bot for the whole time. But yeah, he was for someone especially that has never seen the show before or only saw a little bit of it and was on a plane to Fiji 2 days after he got cast, he played a very remarkable game and really came in knowing what he would have to do to get to the end and who were some of these players that he could rely on. And he almost like a tier of different players, especially as the tribe swap happened, saying this is who he can trust. This is his core group. Once Michelle is gone, now they have to reshuffle. And then this is his new core group. And for a very hectic season with a lot going on, a lot of personalities, to digest through this season. Earl is a very reliable narrator and a very good strategist throughout the game and very consistent. He's briefly a target at the Edgardo blindside before they switched their votes to Cassandra, but I think that's the closest he ever got to actually being in danger of a vote. So for someone to continue to be this strategic threat and someone that was able to really strategize and manipulate his way to the end, which, like he said he did in his final tribal council speech, he did it miraculously well.
Yeah. He is really like the clear leader at Ravu. And he has a couple of lieutenants with Yowman being one. And it is a lot of fun to go back and visit with Yowman in this season, Aaron.
Oh, I forgot just how much I love Yowman. I mean, even just from day one, when all the guys are throwing this like huge rock over this crate that Jeff released to them via helicopter,
Mhm.
and he just walks up and drops it on its corner because that's the weakest point, and opens it in 2 seconds. Like, I mean, we're like, his mind is so brilliant, and just the strategies that Yao Man comes up with in this season are things that are, I mean, fake idols, um,
Mhm.
and looking through other people's bags.
Mhm. Well, he doesn't
Coming
like it when it gets done to him. Yeah.
well, yeah.
Yes.
And but he's also just so. I mean, he's authentically himself, and his old man wisdom, just bouncing through, just from survival skills of living on Borneo to general game savviness or social savviness. I mean, it's really cool to see, because it's not often you see somebody come into the game. Maybe before this, maybe Rudy and Kentucky Joe,
Mhm.
Pascal,
How
maybe
old
are
is
some
Yao
of the
Man? Yao Man is only
54.
54.
Yeah, it's young.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he is surprising in in some of the things that he's able to do. He's like amazing with weapons also.
Yeah, the ease in which he's able to open a coconut, use a machete, kind of figure his way through the challenges, whether it's running and throwing the spear during one of the targets
Yeah.
towards the end of the pre-merge. And that's just a small collection of what he was able to do, but he was really the Survivor MacGyver of this season, and the way that he was able to be a very innovative player in some ways that we've never seen before, from anyone, let alone from an older man. He recognizes that the older players do tend to get voted out first, so he really wants to be the exception. But even without age, he's just kind of an exceptional player all around. Just the different strategies that he comes up with throughout the season. It's so impressive, and it was great to see him play again.
Yeah. And then also Michelle is also a big part of what Earl and Yao Man have going on. And Aaron, I love Michelle. She's just so delightful every time she's on the screen.
Michelle was one of my first Survivor crushes. I love Michelle. Michelle is amazing. I mean, she started fire with glasses. She's being a strategic spy for Earl, so that's definitely speaking to her social game. The fact that she's able to do that and still be relatively safe, albeit for a twist, really, that takes her out of the game. And her challenge prowess too, just her physical and mental ability to be able to solve things quickly is just amazing. And she could take a fall and get right back up and continue to call like nothing happened.
Yeah. Plus she started the fire. That I feel like that we didn't get enough Michelle.
Justice for Michelle.
Yeah.
Please bring her back. She was so good. And it was, I would have loved to see her for a little more, especially as the merge was hitting. That twist, I think that twist where they split the teams up into 2 teams of 5, it's an interesting concept, but they did it so poorly with how they how half the tribe is not only safe, they don't have to vote in this tribe. So it really, to Dream's credit, because this was probably the correct move for him, especially after hearing his interview with you and T-Bird, and in the roundtables as well. This does seem like it was the correct move for Dreams to really cement himself into the alliance with Earl and Yao and Cassandra. But I don't want Michelle to be the fall guy for this one either. So it definitely,
she was the fall girl in the reward challenge, though.
Yeah, and then to Dream's credit, he saw an opportunity and he ran with it. But it was definitely not. It was definitely not what the outcome that I would have liked. Then would love to see Michelle play again.
So let's talk a little bit about this, because this is a big moment in the season where, okay, so they merge at 10, and then that, it's almost like they were trying to do like a Survivor Thailand thing where it's like, you're merged. Oh, wait, psych, you're not merged. But so, all right, Jeff is like, okay, well, you are merged, but we're going to go back and basically like have another tribe swap, and then you'll have one last immunity challenge as these other teams. And so they draft these new teams that are 5-5. And Aaron, as I was watching this yesterday morning, I was like, here it comes. Here's where Michelle is going to get screwed so badly. But I have to say, then I walked away, and I feel like, I don't know. I didn't think I wasn't like, oh my God, like clutching my pearls of Michelle got screwed so badly. And I'm wondering, is it because they've done this now in Ghost Island? They've done this in did they do it? They did it in Island of the Idols also. So we saw like Michael Yerger go out on this. We've seen Jenna and Seabass go out on this, and then Missy and Aaron went out on this too. And I'm just wondering, like, does that soften the blow here of what happened to Michelle?
Yeah, I think for me, because it's the first time this happens in Survivor history, it still hurts a lot, especially because, I mean, not only did they throw them into this twist, but I have a gripe with this the same way for the two tribes go to tribal council when they did it in Game Changers for the first time, was that they didn't have any time to talk. And I feel like had they had the time to talk, I don't even know if Michelle may have gone here. Just because, Alex is so good at being able to answer Jeff questions in a way to make Dreams feel comfortable. And obviously Michelle doesn't know Dreams yet, and she's answering truthfully, but that's also highlighting the fact that, I don't know Dreams all that well. And Dreams is like, oh yeah, I don't know Michelle all that well. Why am I keeping her in the game? When if they had the time to talk and then she still went, then it's like, okay, at least you had the chance to save yourself and you still didn't do it, right? But here it's just like, I don't know how, there's just nothing that really Michelle could do here, especially on a tribe like that.
Gia, what do you think?
I definitely think it would have helped either one, if the whole tribe still got to vote, if they weren't just, if you were just competing for immunity, but since it's the merge, you get to act like it's the merge and still vote. I think that could have been, I mean, that could have led to
5 immunity necklaces, basically.
5 immunity necklaces. Yes. 5 tusk skull for everybody.
Give everybody a tusk.
Yeah.
But I think that could have, because it really feels like, even though it doesn't ruin Earl or Yao-Man's game for the long term, it does, I guess it kind of makes the paganing of the 4 Horsemen alliance a little more satisfying with how it turns out. But if you're going to be merged, maybe vote like you are in a merge, or at the very least, give them time to go back to camp, talk things through, give Michelle a chance to save herself, give her allies a chance to talk to Mookie and Dreams. I know Mookie voted to keep Michelle, but maybe Dreams would have been more comfortable if he had the chance to talk with even Cassandra, who's saying, like, you want to keep Michelle because she's a number for us. I don't know if that would have made a difference. Dreams voted the way Dreams wanted to vote. So I don't know if anyone was going to persuade him unless he felt like that was the best option for him. Yeah. But I definitely think it would feel less like Michelle got screwed over if they had at least given more opportunity to save herself than the actual tribal council.
Yeah, those are good points about how they didn't give them any chances to be able to strategize with each other. They just went right to tribal council, and Jeff asked very pointed questions of like, all right, Michelle, why should Dreams go home? Alex, why should Mookie go home? And it was very direct questions from Jeff. And also, in the modern seasons when they do this, they at least give everybody a chance to compete for individual immunity and give out like a necklace for each person. So I don't know if Michelle was going to necessarily win individual immunity against, she was going up against some tough competition for that individual immunity there. But I feel like it gives her at least, she could say like, all right, well, I could have won the immunity necklace before going into that tribal council. But all right, so that's going to set up everything going on at the merge, but there is some like interesting setup I just want to do and close out the pre-merge before we get into what I think is the most exciting part of the season, where we get to basically the 4 horsemen versus the syndicate coming up right after that vote. But we have our swap. And the swap is wild because Lisi doesn't get picked. And then it's kind of a wild moment. Jeff is like, all right, Lisi, good news. You are still in this game. And Gia, she's mad. She's like, oh, what is this?
Jeff is not having any of what Lisi is selling at that moment. I was surprised by it. She seemed like, and for someone that was on the winning tribe for so long and was in this great place, to see the moment that Lisi was met with some adversity after we had just seen her living in the lap of luxury for however many days, it was a buzzkill. The tribe swaps are supposed to be really like interesting and seeing how players can either rebound or take advantage of the place of how that tribe swap worked out for them. And I think this tribe swap had that added tension of, all right, who's going to the Moto camp, who's going to the Rabu camp. So I think this was a really fun swap to see unfold as we see the results happen. But the fact that Lisi is just kind of like, well, I did everything that I could have done in this game, or I've done everything I did like in my team with Moto and everything. It was like the moment things got tough, she never bounced back from that.
Yeah. It was just so wild. Aaron, do you think that maybe there was friction between Jeff Probst and Lisi here because that it was very embarrassing that they wore the same hat this season?
Yeah. I mean, Jeff had that iconic hats throughout Survivor history. And the fact that Lisi was wearing the same thing as Jeff, how dare Lisi do that? How dare she even enter into the same fashion world as Jeff? So I definitely could think
it works better for Lisi.
I do. I like it. I like the look on Lisi, especially with her hair. It kind of complements it very well.
Gia, I should never talk about anybody's fashion, but Jeff has a bad hat this season, right?
For Fiji, it's not my favorite of his hats.
It's so narrow. It's such a narrow hat.
Yeah, it was maybe that's why he was irritated. It was too tight. It was on too tight. Lisi seemed fairly comfortable in her hat.
Yeah, tiny whiteys.
Very tight, yeah. Tiny hattie. So we have a very unusual tribe swap also because we have this draft. But Aaron, we end up with like this all the like the young guys are all on one tribe, where it's Alex and Edgardo and Rocky and Mookie and then Anthony plus Lisi. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Who else?
Dreams.
So yeah, all the young guys are on the one tribe, and then the other tribe ends up being like much more balanced with it's Earl, Yowman, Cassandra, Stacy, Michelle, Boo, and it's probably somebody else I'm forgetting over there. But yeah, so we get these two very like you would think like the tribe with the young guys are probably going to dominate in the challenges. I don't think they win a reward. I think that's it.
They do. Yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
But we go back and Lisi goes to exile, and this is the episode where we really have the worst of Rocky and going after Anthony.
This episode right here was what really made me connect to Anthony a lot. Just seeing that first scene of them back at camp, and all the guys are talking at the campfire. Oh, it's so good. There's no women here, you know. And Anthony's just silent off to the side, just kind of staring. And I was just like, I can't even imagine being in that position, especially also on voting day, everybody going off fishing and being like, Anthony, go tend the fire. And he's just staying off there. I cannot imagine.
Yeah. Does he call himself Cookie?
Yeah. Oh, Cookie's gonna go by the fire. And
Cookie's here to tend the fire. Yeah. He does like the old prospector voice there. It's sad that they go after Anthony, who I'm sure has value to the tribe, and it's Rocky, who's been with him the whole way, is really just like leading the charge. And it comes up a lot in the tribal council where that the problem with Anthony, he's like a girl. He's the way that he's handling this, everything that's bad is compared to being like a woman.
Yeah, it's the sexism throughout that season is very uncomfortable, particularly as they're figuring out how to vote, and it's always because someone is either a woman, or in Anthony's case that he's effeminate, as what Rocky would say. I think on a lot of seasons Anthony would thrive. He seemed to be a very great intelligent player, thinking more strategically than being a physical player. So I would love to see Anthony return on another season. I think he was a fantastic narrator throughout pre-merge, even just hearing about his experiences, or just describing the tribe dynamics and keeping a level head and trying to be upbeat, even as he's on the tribe that's continuously losing everything and starving and being dehydrated. The part where he never seems to give up. He goes searching for leaves to lick water on and lick the water from, or go hunting for food, or any of those moments. Just giving my moment of appreciation to Anthony as well, that he was a fantastic character. He got a really raw deal with this tribe swapping on to probably one of the people that he would least want to work with in that tribe, and one of that person's duo with Mookie as well. So I think that was a really rough deal. I'm glad that he was able to strategize with Dreams for a little bit. It seemed like Dreams, if they could have gotten something going, that Dreams would have voted to keep him as well. But that was probably one of the lower points in the season, especially with pre-merge, that and the segment with Dreams and Cassandra being the outcasts of the Moto tribe. That's probably the two roughest moments for me. And I'm sad that Anthony wasn't in jury. I think he would have been a great juror. He just missed it. Could have swapped him and Rocky around. It could have been a completely different deal.
Yeah. If he got say he got picked instead of Boo to go to Moto, then he's probably in the final 5.
Oh yeah, he'd be set if he was on that. If the swap was different on that. That would be interesting, actually. It would be, that would be a good one.
Yeah, and I was actually surprised at the swap when Cassandra didn't pick Anthony, but then I rethought about it. I was like, well, she probably wanted Anthony to be over with Dreams and make sure that Dreams was okay over there, so that's why she probably didn't pick him for Moto.
And it does also feel like that in some of the Anthony versus Rocky discussion at Tribal Council, and then at the reunion, that Jeff seems like he's like, well, look, hear Rocky out, Anthony, because he's making some points, though, right?
No, he was making no points. I'm sorry. There was nothing. He did not have anything of value to add to Anthony's life with the advice he was giving him. I don't understand why they wanted to seem like Anthony should be grateful for this unwarranted advice that Rocky was giving Anthony, both in tribal and in camp and at the reunion. It was very odd and uncomfortable to watch, because that's not something that someone should have to deal with on this show, or be something that is a part of their Survivor experience. And it feels weird that production is almost taking Rocky's side, or at least wanting to make it seem kind of redeeming that, oh, he cares in his own way. It was just very odd. I think reunions are full of those awkward moments in Survivor, and this was that was one of the most uncomfortable ones for me for this reunion.
Yeah, Anthony, I feel like that at least in this season, I felt like that there's a lot of like, hey, like don't even think about giving up. Don't even think about ever quitting, because you are irredeemable Survivor person if you ever like back down. And so while Rocky was like attacking Anthony, it was almost like that the message of the show is like, hey, if somebody is attacking you, that if you don't attack them back, there's something wrong with you, because that's what you need to be doing. Somebody attacks you, you attack them back. That's what being a Survivor is about. And because that's just not who Anthony is as a person, it was almost treated like, oh, like there's something wrong with him. At least Rocky has the will to fight in this game, and Anthony, he can't even swallow a snout or fight back at Rocky. So he's less than useful as a Survivor player.
Yeah, I was so frustrated at that tribal council, because Rocky's asking Anthony to stand up for himself, and then when he is, Rocky has a problem with it. It just was so confusing to me, the message that the show was trying to give. But I am grateful that this. I'm grateful that Jeff has had the opportunity to grow and learn from this experience. I do think now, thinking about 41 and beyond, especially because if we're trying to go for more diverse casts and people from different backgrounds, there are so many different types of people in this world, and growing to understand and appreciate different perspectives, I think is so vital. And I really think that Rocky just wanted Anthony to be Rocky, but Anthony is not Rocky. That's the point. Anthony is his own person. And it was, the weird thing is too, Anthony is older than everybody on that tribe. I don't know why they were treating him like that. It was just so bizarre. And I mean, the good thing was, though, that I noticed this time was that even as Rocky was berating Anthony, we immediately got confessionals from Edgardo and Alex being like, what is Rocky doing? Like, this is not the way that, why is Anthony being treated in this way? He should not be treated in this way. So I'm glad that they at least acknowledge on the tribe that Rocky is a did not handle that in the best way.
Right. Because those guys are going to get tired of Rocky themselves, because in the next episode, then Lisi comes back and they win a reward, and they go and to this bowling alley / arcade, and everybody overeats. It happens on Survivor. And for some reason, this made Rocky really mad that everybody ate too much. Like for some reason, like Rocky all of a sudden is like that. All right, everybody, pace yourself. Take it easy. Like all of a sudden, like he's like Mr. Patience, and knows exactly, and they didn't listen to him. And then he was like, he's gonna like make fun of them until they get their stomachs upset.
First of all, this was a fun reward to see.
Yeah.
The not my favorite of the season, but I thought it was a fun one that they had there. That it was odd that was his time to be, okay, everyone, we got to be careful. We can't eat or drink too much after we've been living with palm fronds and a pot for our and a machete for our shelter supplies for the last couple of days. So it was very odd that this is the first reward that Rocky has been a part of in his journey on this show, and then this is the time where he's decided to start lecturing everybody about how much they're eating. So there are several layers to Rocky's character this season, if nothing else to be said about that.
And then ultimately he's gonna go home on that episode, and then there's one more vote that's before we get to the merge. And of course, Aaron, this is the infamous the Mecca is here. And the Mecca, what a fun set piece this is of everybody doing the Mecca. And how good is Earl?
Earl is so good. So you think you can mecha? Earl can.
Yeah.
His moves, so good. I mean, the Chiefs were all smiling watching this, and I was too. And Boo was, he tried.
And they still won. They still
They
won
still
with
won.
Boo.
They still won. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they
Gia,
look
how
good.
come we've never done this again? I mean, we're in Fiji. We're in Fiji permanently.
That's what I've been saying forever. We're in Fiji for probably forever, or for many more seasons at least. This was such a fun challenge. It was really nice to see some of the tribe leaders come and teach them how to dance. And Yao Man sit out because he's all knees, so he knows his limits. As the humble man he is, and he doing like the face makeup. It was just a fun character challenge. It was a nice reward for them to do. It was fun to see the tribe members have fun and really just break out of their shells. It was fun to see Earl just, get down with the best of them and see some of the other tribe members do their best with it. And I liked hearing like, the build up to it, like, the face makeup and costumes were good, but Rabu was a little, their technique was lacking a little bit. It was just a fun character moment. I feel like we don't get a lot of those anymore, where we get to just see them have fun and embrace the culture. We really didn't see a lot of that in this season until this episode, but I wish that was something that we would do in other seasons as well, because this is probably one of the more memorable and one of the more fun challenges that they do.
Oh yeah.
This was great to go back and see it. And I just forgot how good Earl is at doing the mecha. Even the judge was like the leader of that one tribe of he's very good. Really thought he was did a really good job. But the vote offs here are kind of predictable with Anthony and then Rocky and then Lacey going back to back to back. But there is like interesting like chess piece moving coming up for when we're going to get to sort of like this big standoff when we finally get to the merge. And Earl is like building his group where that he connects with Cassandra, that he has Yao Man, he has Michelle, but even they bring Boo in also as like a fifth person who seemed like somebody who was super loyal to Edgardo and Alex, and they are like almost instantly able to get Boo to flip over.
I found it interesting that, because it seems like he's just kind of content. He knows that he's on the outs in this new moto, whereas he was part of the 5 in the original moto. But they seem to just he seems to know kind of where, to Boo's credit, I think part of it was he knew kind of where the power was shifting in leading up to the merge. I think he knows that a merge is coming and he wants to be on good terms with everyone. But we didn't really hear a lot from Boo about this 5 when Moto was originally a part of it either. So maybe it's he's spending more time with Cassandra now, who's on the outs, and Stacy also seems to be much more friendly with Cassandra now that they are on this new tribe as well. So, they don't, once Lacey and Alex and Edgardo are out of the picture, I think they're much more willing to branch out a little bit with some of their tribe mates. So I think it was partially a survival technique, but I think now that they aren't committed to this core 5 that they had on the original moto, they actually have some time to really get to know their other tribe members and really bring them in. This is on one of the other things I have with Fiji that isn't as strong, is that sometimes we don't really see the full story into how these players get into these certain alliances. Like from one episode, Alex was saving Stacy, and now all of a sudden Stacy doesn't owe him anything. She's gonna vote him out next tribal. So I think this was a really big moment, especially knowing how far Boo goes in this into the merge, and how he does all his challenge wins, that this was a good vote for Earl and the rest of the syndicate to really have on their side. So it's good that he was able to get that.
Yeah, I love calling them the syndicate. I think it just comes up that one time on a reward challenge that Yao Man says, "Okay, this is the syndicate," but it's a great alliance name. I don't know if it was ever used again after that one day on the boat, but it's great.
It feels right.
It feels right. It feels right.
Yeah.
It feels like it feels like Yao Man definitely came up with that. Yeah. So all right. So we have that syndicate coming together over on Moto. But Aaron, we have over on Moto, the Four Horsemen are coming together.
The Four Horsemen are back, and this time it's on Survivor this time. One of the things that I really loved about the season, for a season that is the first one with an idol on both camps, this could not have played out more perfectly in the way that Yao Man finding the idol on Moto and getting assistance from Earl and doing that. And then over here, we have, once Lisi comes back from Exile Island, she tells Alex and Edgardo the clue. With the Four Horsemen forming, Alex and Edgardo, they are two very brilliant minds, very strategic in their own thinking. And, Alex still thinking like, okay, we need to keep Dreams and Cassandra close because we don't want them flipping on us at this merge. So they take Dreams, they take Mookie, they form the Four Horsemen before Lisi joins. And then once Lisi gives Alex and Edgardo that info, Alex, Edgardo, and Mookie work together to dig that idol up in the early morning while Dreams and Lisi are sleeping. And Mookie finds it. And then he's kind of still playing around with the sand. And Lisi gets up and is like, idol hunting? Yeah. Yeah, caught you. Yeah, you thought you could pull a fast one on me. You're going to have to wake up pretty early to fool an old cat like me. I know what's up around here.
So funny. Yeah, because she's like saying in her confessional, she's like, "Oh, you should have seen the look on his face. He was so busted because I knew what he was doing right away."
So what a perfect confessional to just explain who Lisi is as a Survivor player. She thought she had something there at the very least. That was such an entertaining idol find. The Ravu one where Earl's kind of leading the tribe away from camp and giving Yao the opportunity to dig around for a while until he's able to find it. I really like the storylines for this season on how they find the idols is so funny, but I love seasons where the idol find is kind of its own storyline where you have all the clues. They know where it is, but it's at the hub of camp, so you have to find the right way to get it. It was one of the more recent seasons where we had something similar was Second Chances. So storylines like that were like where idols are found in the challenges, or you have to wait till night to grab them. I wish we had more less idols in these new school seasons, but more difficult to find them as well, because we get these great storylines like this, and it's a great trust building moment with the Earl and Yao Man, but then also Alex, Mookie, and Edgardo. And when they're about to go to battle at the merge, and they each have idols in their possessions, it makes for a very exciting merge setup. So it was great to see, and it was a great storyline for both pre-merge and merge.
Yeah. And so when we finally get to the merge, it really all starts to come apart for the Four Horsemen, where Mookie blurts out to Dreams, "All right, by the way, we have the idol. Okay, we found the idol." And Dreams is like, "Wait, why didn't you tell me this?" But ultimately that's going to end up like undoing everything that the Four Horsemen are going to do, because ultimately Dreams is going to tell Earl and Cassandra later on the season that they do have the idol. And then I think he's also the one that spots it when they pass the idol to Alex. But to me, Yeah, all of this maneuvering at the merge, like it comes the episode after the Michelle vote, but I just felt like that this was just so much fun to go back and watch.
Yeah, it's my favorite tribal council of all time, still to this day. I mean, and you know what? I think this round is, I mean, as controversial as that final 10 twist was, I think it really did help this because Boo and Stacy, who were being targeted, know, okay, hey, I'm on the bottom, so they're not really willing to go back to Alex and Mookie and all them who were talking about voting off Boo or Stacy at the merge, and then it kind of enables this sort of these are both very competent alliances in their own ways, both with strategic thinkers on both sides. They both have idols, and because of the whole caveat that the idol possessor has to be the one that plays it, they have to physically hold the idol. So there is a literal sharing, and I feel like that element alone, it kind of created a whole. I just loved it. There's some shows like The Genius where we find things later, but I love votes like this because we're in on it. The audience is in on it. We're not blindsided as an audience. I think votes where we're included, the Randy vote in Gabon or Roger and Amazon, where we know what is happening. We're all in on it. We're with the players. I feel like those kinds of votes work really well, and they were really good at telling just how much can happen on a beach before a vote, but also in a way that the audience understands. And that's why I think this episode works so well, is just how good they are at being able to tell a coherent story here.
Do you feel like did Stacy miss an opportunity here? Should she have flipped over, because Alex and Edgardo are working on bringing Stacy back into the fold? They voted to save her or Alex did, and he got Dreams to vote to save her at the previous tribal council. Like, why does Stacy stay with the syndicate side of things at this vote, and not become the fifth vote potentially?
I think part of it is that Stacy wants to go with where the numbers is. That's why she explained that she really didn't want to vote with the wrong side of the numbers, and I think that was a big concern for her moving forward, which is why she was so willing to drop Alex as she did. We don't see a ton from Stacy, so it's hard to see whether how her perspective on players like Cassandra changed, or how exactly she what her friendship was like with Earl or Yowman or Michelle before she was voted out. So I think her time on the new Moto tribe really can really help that fact as well. But I think she was thinking that vote, that there were a majority of votes going to the Four Horsemen, whether it was going to be Mookie or Alex, or shout out to Stacy for dropping the iconic line, "Why not vote for Edgardo?" Maybe she just wanted to be the one to say it. Maybe that was why. But I think she was very in the moment type of player, where she saw where the numbers were and went for it. But then the fact that she stayed loyal to them and was able to show her loyalty by not spilling information about the idol to Alex or Edgardo was what really helped. But then also, if Dream seemed pretty committed to flipping, or maybe not committed, but it seemed like he was going to flip to the Four Horsemen as well, or away from the Four Horsemen. So maybe she kind of saw the writing on the wall, and that even if this vote was successful and Cassandra was voted out this round and they had the idol, now there's four of them. She's the fourth horsewoman in that alliance, and they still have five.
Yeah. Aaron, also, that speaking of Stacey, like seeing the writing on the wall, that they are coming off of playing the touchy subjects here, where she got a negative reception from the tribe. She was voted the person who the tribe would most like to never see again. And then also, who's wasted this opportunity?
Yeah. And I feel like, as Stacey alludes to in the reunion, this was a big turning point for Stacey and her game here. I mean, touchy subjects not only enables you to see maybe the pecking order in the way that people eliminate each other, but also could kind of see what is the general perception of me, and getting all those negative responses not only enabled her to look at herself, but I mean, wasted this opportunity. Stacey took that and said, let me not waste this opportunity. Let me be a forward thinker. Let me come up with this strategy that's really going to save the syndicate here, and really kind of give them the game for good.
Yeah. It's such a great tribal council of like that we have the idol pass leading up to it, and then on top of that, Gia, also Dreams is trying to tell Earl what's going on, but they give Dreams a fake name. They tell Dreams that they're going to vote for Mookie here at this tribal council because they don't trust him yet. This is a test for Dreams.
He passed it. He passed the test. He voted for Mookie. It was the real name for a while, which is part of the reason why this is so great. That there were so many names being thrown around at this time that first it was Alex. It was definitely going to be Alex, and then Dreams spilled that to Earl and Cassandra about Mookie having the idol, which Earl was, by the way, very cleverly able to decipher that was in fact the idol by acting shocked that this idol was shaped like a turtle. He was asking Dreams for clarifying questions on what this idol looks like, and he knows that this is in fact the idol without revealing to anyone that he knows why this.
The name of the episode. It's a turtle.
It's a turtle. And
turtle bang. Yeah.
So, and then once Dream sees this idol exchange too, then that's when they're able to make this plan to vote out Edgardo, do that third option as the person that's least likely to have it. But then they realize that, you know what, we're not sure. Maybe Dreams is trying to play all sides so we can get one over on us this time. So let's let's not tell him the plan for Edgardo this round. I think Dreams is an excellent player in this episode as well, playing the middleman and really being the deciding factor in how this episode shakes out and how great of an episode it actually is. So we definitely need to be giving Dreams his flowers as well for this episode. He was a fantastic player throughout the season and particularly hilarious to watch here. But the build up to this episode was fantastic. And then the next episode, they explain that they didn't tell Dreams because they were worried the Four Horsemen were lying to Dreams about who the target was. And Dreams is like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So they're able to keep Dreams in, and eventually he's able to build his way up to that to a member of that core four alliance that would be the final four in Fiji.
Yeah. It's also such a great scene, Aaron, where in this episode, so Earl sees Dreams like talking to Alex, and they bring him over, and I just feel like it's just like it's like mom and dad caught the son like doing something bad, and then that's when like he just throws out that Mookie has the idol. And like they're just like being like very stern with Dreams there. Like it's a great moment in the season.
It's so good. There's a surprising amount of spying or catching people in conversations in this merge. The fact that Alex and Dreams were talking about the vote, and Earl is just coming out from nowhere being like, why do you have the pot? Like, we need the pot back at camp. And then later to Dreams, he's like, I heard everything that you said. Whether he heard it or not, he's like, I heard everything you said. Like, why? What are you doing? Yeah. To the point where Dreams is like,
yeah, there was like tall grass that you were able to like really like hide easily in this season.
Yeah. Can you imagine the later seasons being played on these islands still? I mean, there would be so much hiding and prowling about?
Because it comes up really in a big way later on in the season when Cassandra and Stacy are just like hanging out, and then Mookie and Alex are having like their planning conversation right next to them. And then later on in the season, like Boo is going to invent a spy shack.
Boo is the original inventor of the spy shack. He was he was ahead of his time in that regard. I love that. That's the beginning of the car deal episode, but I love the starting point to that, where he's making this, I'm going to call it a spy shack, where he's making a spy shack by the water well so that he's able to see if anyone's going to have some conversations about whether or not he's the next target. Cut immediately to just everyone else in the tribe in the cave being you can't let him win immunity. There's no way. He's obviously the next one to go. It was just the timing of this episode was absolutely perfect. And Boo was a very comedic character for several reasons, and this was highlights for me.
Yeah, Boo. That I feel like I thought that my impression of him, not like I don't do an impression of him, but I feel like that it was more of like a negative one. But I mean, he doesn't, I mean, even at the final tribal council, like he is like hard on Dreams, but he's not like one of the yellers at the final tribal council. Like he was a pretty sweet guy through most of the season.
Yeah, his question was reasonable at that final tribal. Coming off the heels of South Pacific, it's the same as Brandon's question to Albert's. Yes, no question.
Well, he's Russell's friend also. He's like friend of the Hance family. So, I mean, he was like, I don't really can't think of a time where he was like speaking ill of anybody in the season. He was kind of like a comedic character. He has like the wild scene, Gia, where he gets injured in the challenge and then pops his knee back in.
Oh, we can hear the pop, and Boo had no concern for his well-being on several occasions. Like they have several segments of just Boo hurting himself or doing something that would get some people medically evacuated. So it was a lot. Definitely a challenge beast. And seemed like a pretty nice guy for the season. I didn't really ever think that he was getting a winner's edit, but maybe as just something that could prevent other people getting winner's edits from winning, if he had won another immunity challenge or not. But he was definitely an interesting player to have in the mix with a lot of these other very heavily strategic players throughout the season.
Yeah, he seemed to know he didn't have the winner's edit also, because he's making his case to a lot of to Earl, like, I won't win. Like nobody will vote. I'm Boo. Nobody's gonna vote for me. Just go to the end with me. That's what you should do. So all right. After the Edgardo blindside, we don't really have like a ton of super interesting vote. And stop me if I'm wrong. Before, because I do want to jump ahead to Yao-Man and Dreams and the car, because it's such a big thing over the end of the season. I mean, I do think that at the next vote, where it's going to be, we have the vote split where Earl doesn't want to split the votes, and they do, and they don't take into account that Alex is going to vote for Mookie. That is a fun moment in the season, Aaron.
It is. I feel like Alex is a premature Natalie Anderson here, sort of casting his vote in a certain way to make sure that he's not going home himself. And actually, I think something that we alluded to happens in this episode where Mookie goes. That scene where Stacy and Cassandra are listening in on that conversation, and because Mookie spots them, he's like, "Oh, well, Cassandra and Stacy are right there," because the plan they were talking about was they were originally going to, at Tribal Council, kind of blow up Yao-Man's spot and being like, he has an idol. Did you all know that he has an idol?
Yeah, what was that going to do?
I don't know. I really don't know. That maybe like the shock would send them to want to vote for Yao-Man. But
and he has an idol.
Right. I think they were hoping to flip people back onto their side, being like, oh, well, if Yao Man's lying to us, we can't really stick with him long term, but it didn't really work. So because Stacy and Cassandra were listening in, Mookie's like, okay, well, now we have to do it now. So they get up and go to Yao Man and like, we went through your stuff. You have the idol, which I think this is the first time people are going through. I mean, Yao Man did it to Sylvia, but the first time people are going through other stuff really to find the idol.
The idol, yeah.
The confrontation scene is hilarious. Yao Man is so unbothered by the fact that they're confronting him about this. Like internally, it might be a little different. It's like, do we have to do? That could change the game. I don't think it will. Just do what you got to do on this. I think it helps that Earl already knew that he had the idol as well. So the person whose trust would really be broken in this scenario is the one that already knows about it. But it was just a hilarious moment to watch and just kind of see yet another plan from the Four Horsemen just fall flat, and then turn it around and hear everyone be disgusted by the fact that they would look through Yao Man's bags to look for the idol. Like they're more angry about that than the fact that their ally did not tell them that he had an idol.
He played that so well with Stacy. He turned that around. He was like, they threatened me with the can you believe they went through my stuff? And they found and Stacy's like, oh, Syndicate, you have to listen to this. They went through Yao Man's stuff and found his idol in there. Like they're not even paying attention to the fact that Yao Man has an idol. They're like, I can't believe they went through his stuff. Now, this is going to ultimately affect Yao Man standing with the Alliance going forward because they're going to try to want to get rid of him as soon as possible, knowing this. But I do find that Yao Man played that really just perfectly, kind of turned that around and making sure they all stuck together.
Yeah, and then Alex is going to be around for an episode, getting on everybody's nerves with his campaigning. Like he's not like super like obnoxious about it, like a Troyzan in One World or anything like that. But it is funny, Gio, when they win the reward and he's on the reward, and Earl like just wants to hang out, and Alex is like, "All right, but let me hear me out. Hear me out." I'm like, all right, fine.
It's like, all right, but then he's like, I'm gonna wink at him. I'm gonna give him a wink to make sure we know that, like, no, we're good.
Yeah.
That was probably the least interesting of the post-merge episodes to me, especially knowing what leads up to it. But there really isn't. It's a lot of just Alex trying to save himself, and then it just not working out because the Syndicate is pretty confident in their numbers, and then they eat some gross chicken, and that was it. That was the episode.
That's the part I forgot about that. I saw that pop up, and I went, "Oh wow, they had that in this season too." Yeah, it's this South Pacific and Amazon that have this challenge.
Well, we talked about it last week in South Pacific, and I had forgotten about this that was there. And this is the only time they do it as an individual challenge. Not as gross for whatever reason. It was a smaller thing.
Well, they have to help each other get
hold on to the chicken. Maybe the fact that it's chicken.
Maybe
it's not
I think
it was a pork. Yeah.
Or a pork. Okay. And then it kind of just looks like a little. Yeah. It's like a little piñata or something. Like it was odd, but it wasn't. It was. I mean, I guess I should have expected that was going to happen because it's the cannibal season. But that was about it. That was the episode.
There was some good like wrecking ball action. Like Stacy took like a good shot or two during that challenge when that thing started like really moving around. But it was a problem for Alex because nobody wanted to help him during that to do that one. And then it also seemed like that there might have been like when in the immunity challenge when Alex is like climbing the pole. Like it looked like he had it for a second. He just
thought he had it.
Yeah, but sadly for Alex, he couldn't do it. But let's talk about the car and the truck and the deal that Yao Man makes. Of course, that we have the car challenge. The car curse is here, And Dreams talks about how, hey, I don't have a car. How great would it be if I had a car? And Yao Man's wheels are turning because he feels like, hey, I am sort of on the outs here, that when we get down to 4, that if Dreams wins the immunity necklace, then Dreams could just give me the necklace. I'll give him the car, and then that will be a good deal for all. And so Yao Man is going to go on to win the reward challenge. He throws the axe, and then ultimately wins the truck, and then offers it to Dreams on the spot. And of course, the rest is history. And so of course, a lot to unpack here. First off, was this a good idea from Yao Man?
A lot of thoughts on this.
Yeah.
So knowing the background of this episode, which we don't see in the episode, which was that the original plan was for the players to throw the challenge so that Dreams would win the car.
Oh.
Like the plan was that they were going to give Dreams the car in the first place, no matter who won.
Yeah, that's why the other team was so far behind.
Yes. Yeah. So knowing that, and then knowing that Yao Man agreed to this, and then ended up doing that car deal.
Okay. Can I also just add, for people who didn't just rewatch the season? So they were playing in team. It was a weird challenge. They played in teams of 3, and then there was a heat for whatever team won the 3. So Yao Man and Dreams were not on the same team. I think Yao Man was on a team with Boo and Stacy.
Yeah. And then Earl and Cassandra and Dreams were the other team.
Yes.
So knowing that, and there is something to be said about the fact that Dreams just had a very significantly different life story and financial background than the other players, that the deal kind of puts a sour taste in my mouth, just because it feels like they're dangling something in front of him and being used as a strategic piece. But then putting that aside, this is a game. I don't know if knowing that Yao Man was made the right call to make this deal, for knowing that the plan was initially to throw it. But just watching the episode as is, with not knowing that context, I think it's a very innovative move, and I think it's a very interesting one to see playing out. And it makes sense that he wants to find a way to secure his position in the Final 4. The problem is that it's very easy for Dreams to figure out why he's making this plan, because it seems like Earl and Cassandra at this point have their final 2 spots secured. Yeah. And that 3rd spot, which I know they don't know it's a final 3 yet, but Yao and Dreams are both fighting for that 3rd spot. So I think that it's a very innovative move to see play out. And I think that it was really cool to see how Yao Man's brain at work to make that deal happen. And I know we'll go a little more into how the next couple episodes come out, but I do think that while this might have been the right move for Yao Man, it was also the right move for Dreams to go back on it. Yeah. And specifically go back on it instead of just say, yeah, you know what, Yao Man, no, I don't need the car. You want it, you keep it.
Mm-hmm. So this is some interesting backstory that I didn't know. So we know that, or I had forgotten also that. So they surprised them that it's a final 3 and not a final 2. So Earl and Cassandra, they had locked in final 2 by this point.
No, not that they had it locked in. I mean, but just that it seems like Yao and Dreams just aren't seeming to question that they both want to go to the final 3 with Earl and Cassandra. So they just want to make sure they're that 3rd person as opposed to the other one. Like they don't want to, for some reason, they don't say like, these 2 people are set. Maybe we should be set as well. They're trying to secure their place over the other person. I don't think it was a specific agreement that Earl and Cassandra were in the final 2 together.
Okay. All right. And my other question watching this back with all of this is like that Earl and Cassandra are both like such good politicians.
Mhm.
Especially Cassandra does not say that you cannot make her say a bad thing about any person. That you could like show her like a terrible person. She's like, well, that's just the way that they are. Like, she is like has like a smile on her face no matter what she says. So she doesn't crack. She won't say anything bad. Earl also Earl tells you this is my poker face. Earl doesn't give anything away. Do you think that either of them potentially know like how this is going to play out before it plays out?
I think in their minds, yeah. Especially, with the background of, okay, there's already a very tight, Black Alliance running through the entire season. So they probably know that if Dreams was in that position, probably not going to want to give up that immunity easily. But if he did want to stick to his word, I mean, okay. I mean, they're just in the uh, maybe they might worry a little bit about that. But I do think either way, I think Earl felt good about his chances in that spot. And even as he says in the final tribal council, like he wouldn't be in that situation in the first place. Like if he was in
Yeah,
Dreams,
which is a great answer to that question.
Yeah,
like Earl, what would you do in this spot? I wouldn't have gotten this position.
No. Yeah, I think with all of that in the back of my mind, because they all keep mentioning like we want to be top three, with Earl, Jeeves, Cassandra. So I feel like they were all working towards that, and I do feel like no matter what, they felt that they would be able to make that happen.
Yeah. In like looking back at this, I just feel like that for Yao Man to make this such a specific deal, like the final four is 2 votes away. Like just the precedent for Survivor, like isn't good of like and in the evolution strategy, like, I think we compared this a lot to like the Boston Robin Lex thing of like, all right, hey, could you save Amber? Like, if you can, I'll take care of you. Where it was sort of like, do this thing for me today, and then in the future, I'm going to do something for you. It's like, it's very easy to say yes to that in the moment. But then when it comes down to like actually coming through for the other person, when it's time to pay up, like, I feel like a lot of times, like you'll figure out like some sort of a thing like, well, I said, if I could, but I can't. So unfortunately, like, I'm not going to be able to do that. So for Yao Man, like, it was outside of the box, but probably like most people in that Dreams position are probably going to go back on that deal, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this was not a good deal for Yao to make in the first place. This is asking a lot of the other person. Now, I know it's one thing if you're trading a car for a final four immunity, if it's a final 2, because it's not like you're really giving up all that much in the sense, especially if Dreams won that challenge. He's probably thinking, well, I could probably just win the final 3 challenge at that point. But if they're surprised with the surprise final 3, now all of a sudden it's $1 million. Now I'm either in the end or I'm definitely out and not there. So then that's a little bit of that's asking a lot more of somebody to do that than if it was just 2 immunities before the end instead of the final immunity that you're giving up.
There's a lot of time that happens though in between, like when this deal is made and when this ultimately happens, and like both sides are really like exploring like all of the loopholes here because it's like a very specific deal. And Jeff even says, so hold on. So if you get voted out before, then he doesn't have to give you the necklace, right? That's right. Like, yeah, the Yao Man says, yes, that's right. All right, so now the wheels are turning. Yeah, could we vote out Yao Man before we get to the final 4? And this actually makes for a very interesting final 6 vote. Which, yeah, like, let me just let the record show. Yao Man got 4 votes at this tribal council.
They were looking through every loophole they could have possibly imagined through this. Dreams lit up when he was explaining about like, hey, I still held up my end of the deal. If I vote him out at 6, as opposed to just keeping him around to 4 to see what was to see this all play out, it would have been it was very interesting to just see the wheels turning at that point. I remember watching the reward with Dreams, just figuring out why Yao Man benefits from this deal that he had just made, and this is why this deal was made. And it's very specific that the reason this deal was made was to vote out Dreams at Final Four. There was not another option in Yao Man's head about this deal that, oh, like, I just want to make sure I'm safe, but we can vote out Cassandra, or we can vote out Earl. I know he wasn't going to vote out Earl anyway, but then it's very specific that it was Dreams was going at this point. So when it comes down to that immunity necklace, it is either Dreams gives up the necklace and $1 million, or Dreams at least gets a chance to maybe get the $1 million at Final 3. At the very least, he's getting he's gonna get a 3rd place prize, and he got a 2nd place prize. So I mean, it worked out kind of, but it was definitely the loopholes through it there were a plenty. And I remember Jeff saying, well, like, what if he goes back on the deal? And like, he can still keep the car. So they wanted to make sure they had every base covered with this possible deal.
Yeah. So then Yao Man is going to win the Final 5 immunity. And then, so no drama there. Boo is going to go home at the Final 5. And then we get to the Final 4, and then we even have a showdown at the Final 4 for that immunity necklace of Yao Man versus Dreams, with Dreams ultimately winning. And it all happens very, very quickly, Aaron, that we sort of, they go back to camp, and like, it's almost like a foregone conclusion. Okay, well, we're going to ultimately, that's no problem. And Yao Man just like says like, hey, if you don't keep the deal, could you at least not vote for me? And Dream seems like hurt, like, well, why? Yeah, man, why would you say that? And Earl has such a funny line. He's like, yeah, also, could you not vote for me also, please?
Yeah. Keep my name off that parchment too. Yeah, it was so, I mean, it's one thing to make a deal, at Final 6. It's another thing for you to manifest this actually happening and to be in that spot. And now it's real. And now it's like, okay, well, I don't have immunity, but he still does. And is he going to give it to me?
Yeah.
And then sitting at tribal council and going through that questioning, and everybody's waiting on bated breath. Is Dreams going to use this or not? And I mean, that tribal council is such a powerful council to witness. Dreams going through that whole decision in his mind and deciding in that tribal council whether to give Yao that immunity and living up to his word, or sticking with this 5-person Black Alliance that he made on day 1 as well, and getting that Final 3. I mean, these are 2 monumental things that could be potentially happening here. So
yeah. Gee, how do you think that it would have been presented hypothetically had Dreams given Yao the necklace at that Final 4 tribal council? Like, would it have been like presented about like, wow, like Dreams, like what a man of his word? Or do you think that he would have been like a pre-Reichenbach of like that it would be presented as like in the finale, like, and we'll talk about one of the dumbest moves ever in the history of the show. Dreams gave away his shot at $1 million to Yao Man.
I think, honestly, I think that because of the weight behind that decision, in that Dreams already had gotten a car out of the deal, and Yao Man being such a fan favorite, that they were, they would be getting Yao Man in the Final 3, and most likely winning if this deal had happened. So I don't think at the time it would have been considered a dumb move, more someone living up to their word. I think like right now, I think there's a lot more of a positive reception to Dream's decision to keep the immunity necklace now than there was when this initially aired.
Yes.
So I think the reverse probably would have happened in had Dreams decided to keep the necklace, that maybe now we'd be looking at, well, we make fun of Eric Reichenbach all the time, but Dreams Heard gave up the immunity necklace 2 seasons prior, and no one said anything about that. But I think this was the right call for Dreams to make, to, even though he didn't end up getting votes in the final tribal council, the point of the game is to progress to the end. And Dreams made a lot of very definitive moves throughout the season, but this was a big one to make and to really put himself out there. And he knew that he wanted to get to the end and potentially win to get a better life for himself and his family. So this was definitely the right call for Dreams to make given the circumstances, even though I don't know if with this jury, no matter who he's sitting next to, he would have won, but it was still definitely the right call for him to make.
What about, do you think it was a mistake for him to take the deal at all? Like, should he have kept his eyes on the big prize? And this was sort of a little bit of a short-term gain versus long-term gain to take the truck from Yao Man.
I've thought about this. I don't think I don't think there was another option for Dreams at this point, because hypothetically, Dreams has been making it known that he really wants this car and that a car could really change his life. And then Yao Man presenting him this deal, and all he has to do is give him immunity at Final Four. If Dreams says no, that doesn't really give Yao Man a reason to want to keep Dreams around, and that might actually push Yao Man to take latch on to Boo and Stacy, and maybe they get Dreams out at 6. Yeah, or get him out before they even get to Final Four, so that Dreams isn't, because Dreams didn't win immunity until the Final Four either. So he was going to be vulnerable in those positions. So I think it would have given Yao Man more of a reason to get rid of him before Final Four gets there. So I think even if this wasn't the logic at the time for why he made the deal, it definitely helps him be a person of value to Yao Man as a possible way for Yao Man to get to the end, if he would keep by accepting this car deal. So I don't even think that I don't even think there is an option for Dreams to refuse the car deal in this instance.
Yeah. Do you feel like that the show really liked that this happened?
I don't know, actually, because I'll let Aaron take this one.
Yeah, this is weird because this is often known as the season that killed the car challenge, and I kind of look back at this and I also wonder why it killed it of all seasons. One person really wants a car and another person gives it to them. Wouldn't you want to sponsor a season where somebody's really, gunning so hard for this car that they take this, I mean, it would be one thing if they were all bashing the car and saying what is this? We have no use for this car. Yeah.
No, the car was so wanted by the contestants.
Yeah. And they all wanted to give the car to Dreams. So I don't really know why this season really did kill it. I mean, maybe they didn't like the fact that Yao Man didn't even want the car in the first place, but
no, Yao Man said, oh, if I would have known that this was such an expensive car, I wouldn't have been so quick to give it up, Dreams. You got such a good deal. He was really pouring it on for Dreams. And yeah, I don't know. It seemed like that this kind of fell into their lap, that you had this very dramatic thing. If you're making a TV show, I feel like it's sort of this is the kind of stuff that you would be super excited that this plays out this way.
Yeah, and I think part of it does have to do with the fact that it's Yao Man that gets the Raw end of the deal, because that's definitely someone that they hyped up as the fan favorite of the season. That might have something to do with it, but I feel like as a show, you want drama like this. You wanted some. That was the big question right before the finale. It wasn't even who's gonna win. It's is Dreams going to hold up his end of the car deal? So this is something to talk about. This is something to highlight the season around. I think the fact that Jeff doesn't really seem to like this season in general doesn't help. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought this was a very riveting moment and led to this shaped how the end game of Fiji how Fiji plays out.
Yeah. Jeff really is trying to get to the bottom of at the reunion show of that. Was this like a calculated move on Dream's part, or was he just sort of like, you know, did he start off that he planned to keep the deal? And Dreams does, at least going by in his confessionals, change like what he's saying a bunch of, like he tells us in confessionals he's going to keep the deal, no problem. But then he also was thinking about it. He says at the finale he was planning on like going back on the deal the whole time. Aaron, what do you think it was?
You know, I think in the moment, Dreams probably really wanted the car and went along with it. But after thinking about it afterwards, you know, having all that time between the final 6 and the end, and especially the fact that now it's not a final 2 anymore, it's a final 3. So now this decision is now a much different choice than maybe they both were imagining when they originally made the deal in the first place. I feel like they made him go, well, now of course I have to renege on this. You know, now I have to figure out. But I feel like the second that Dreams tries to get Yao Man out at final 6, clearly he's not wanting to hold this final 4 deal, because why would he be wanting to get rid of Yao Man if he actually wants to uphold in this deal?
But that was an out. That was a exit ramp out of this deal.
Trying so hard to not have to make this choice. And the only reason you would try that hard to not make a choice was if you didn't really plan on doing it in the first place. So I do kind of err on the side of that he probably was planning to renege on the deal, but I do think there was some human moment in when the car deal was initially made that, you know, maybe he really considered honoring it for a second or two.
That's interesting. Gia, do you think that that's a possibility that Dream said, okay, I'll take the deal, knowing that there are these sort of like off ramps potentially, and maybe Yao Man will get voted out at the final 6, Yao Man will get voted out at the final 5. Maybe I won't have to actually give him the necklace when we get the final 4.
Yeah, there's so much time between the final 6 vote or the final 6 reward challenge and the final 4 vote. There's a lot of time. There's a lot of strategizing in that time. And I do think to Aaron's point, in the moment, you want a car, you have the opportunity to get a car. There's so much time in between, so much things can happen. Of course, you want to accept that car deal. And then all the other reasons I said beforehand of how it might look if he said no. But then with I think like we even see at that reward challenge, Dreams has his confessional where he's talking about how, well, I got to thinking, and now I'm wondering, how does this benefit Yao Man? Because he's not just doing it out of the kindness of his heart. It's still a nice thing to do, but that's not the only reason he's doing it. So it was a lot of time for Dreams to really unfold why this card deal came about and what's going to happen at Final 4 if he does have to get rid of, if he does decide to give up the immunity necklace. And if the Final 4 shaped out the way that he had wanted it to, with him, Yao, Earl, and Cassandra in the Final 4. So he knows the dynamics of this group. He knows how the vote's going to play out, how if different people win immunity, and he knows that if he does go through on this deal and takes out Yao Man as an option to be voted out, he's the next one to go.
I think another interesting angle to consider here too is that the people that go on this reward, they're not going to exile. They don't have access to this new idol that's been out there since that Edgardo blindside. And the fact that now if Yao Man does this deal with Dreams and Dreams switches with Yao Man, the only people eligible to go are him, Earl, and Cassandra, who he already wants to go to the final three with. And he's keeping Dreams, Boo, and Stacy from having access to Exile Island. He's going to send himself to go there to make sure that not only am I going to do this deal with Dreams, but now I'll have access to all the clues for this idol, and either Earl or myself can find it, and we can have all of the idol power for the rest of the season, basically, and make sure that if they try to do some funny business, I'll have an easy way of getting to the final four if this deal is actually, going to be legitimate.
Mhm.
I'd like to talk a little bit about like the audience reception to this, and if we could like skip ahead to the reunion, and then I want to come back and talk about the final tribal council and Earl's win. But we spent a lot of time on this in the reunion, and I think I had forgotten that basically this all plays out in over the course of the 3-hour reunion show. So the deal is made the episode prior to the finale / reunion show night. And then basically we have our like the entire business with the car goes down like in the 2-hour finale. And then we have a lot of talk about it in the reunion show where then Jeff is trying to get to the bottom of all of that. And they would really spend a lot of time on it, and you could tell like Yao Man is like beloved by the audience, and Dreams is getting booed when they talk to Dreams about this, which I feel like was like really I think that those things like really shape the perceptions the same way that there's like a laugh track on a TV show. Like when you have, I'm not sure necessarily like what they could have done, but I do think that that is a big part of why people like react so negatively when this comes up. Of like, the in-house crowd was like very against how this played out.
Yeah, and a little funny part was that because they were booing, Boo was kind of like, "Yeah, say my name."
I didn't even notice that.
Which I caught for the first time watching it back. Which was kind of a funny little find there. But yeah, it was interesting this audience perception of this because Yao Man was such a fan favorite, and it all happening all at once. There's no time to really think about it or process it or really think about the strategy. You're really just sort of reacting to it in the moment. Like this person that I've been rooting for this whole time is being, I want him to win, but now he's not winning anymore. When, if you really do think about it, I mean, Yao Man was already in kind of dire straits to begin with, whether this deal was in there or not.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that, Dreams has been playing strategically the whole time. It's not like he's been, making wacky decisions for no reason. If he feels it's in his best interest, he's going to do whatever he wants to win. And this is also an interesting point for Jeff too, because I know that it's documented that Jeff was at a very low point in Cook Islands, and then Fiji is kind of a turning point where by the time we get to the reunion, Jeff is a lot more animated and ready for Survivor China, and beyond. We kind of get Jeff back, but there was definitely a point here where Jeff was like, I don't want to be known as the Survivor guy. So there's kind of like this weird energy in this season, which maybe could contribute to why he quote unquote didn't like it. I mean, the season's fine, and there's some great decisions in here. And I actually think this is one of the better reunions. Everybody gets a question, and we're able to flesh things out, even though especially with the Rocky and Anthony stuff and this dream stuff was kind of spent a lot of time on this, asking the same question to different people in different ways. But yeah, I do think maybe going forward in history, I think a lot of people are going to look back on this and think, Dreams was definitely right in his decision to not really honor in this. It's not really in its best interest to take somebody who's definitely going to win and just handing them immunity, especially if the cost of that is Dreams himself going home. So,
yeah. At least Dreams didn't have to apologize to Yao Man on the finale, like Dawn had to apologize to Brenda that we talked about last week. But, how did you think that the show presented this in the reunion show?
I do appreciate that Yao Man was very accepting of the fact, or very accepting of the fact that this is how it played out. I know there's a lot of time in between when it aired and when it happened. But even during the jury, he knew the risks of making this deal. He knew that he was putting himself at risk, and there was always going to be a possibility that Dreams was going to go back on this deal. However, I do like that he was very accepting of it, and he wasn't expecting Dreams to apologize or to give back the truck, which Jeff suggests at one point. I'm like, Jeff, no, that's not what's happening here. But then so I do think it was good in that regard that, Yao Man, of all people, the person who is most affected by the outcome of this decision, is the one saying this is part of the game. This is a choice that he made. He would have been voted out the other way. So it's you made a choice and it got you to the end. So that's what, that's the reality of the situation. Some of the players there want to pretend that the better decision would have been to take Honor over a spot in the final three. So that's their personal preference in that regard. So I think at least Yao Man was very good about this deal. I think Cassandra really comes to Dream's defense about how he is a very strategic player and that this was a good move to make as well. So that was really nice to see. But I think they could have done a little more in saying, listen, this is Survivor. People go back on deals all the time. The fact that your fan favorite didn't make it to the end because of it is something that has happened several times before and will happen several times after. So the fact that it's Yao Man and Dreams that's just the part of the game. Dreams also deserves respect for making a really good move.
All right, well, let's go back to the final tribal council then. Once the Dreams is in the final three, and we get poor Earl and Cassandra and Dreams. They get to the final tribal council or the day 39, and then they make these people have to go swim out into the ocean to get their day 39 breakfast. Why do they have to get dropped out of a plane?
I mean, I get they wanted to bookend, having them drop the package out of a helicopter on day 1 and doing the same thing on day 39. But you're really going to make these people swim out in the ocean for this thing all the way out there?
Yeah.
When they have no energy?
Yeah. Did the eggs break? What'd they do with that? So, all right. So they have their breakfast and they go for the final tribal council. Yeah. And we have people really hot here at the final tribal council.
This was very uncomfortable to watch again.
Yes.
To see. I said before how excited I was to have an all-black final three. I think they all played very well-rounded, very respectful games and very strong games to get to the end. So as a fan's perspective, at the very least, I would have liked to have spent more of the jury questions actually asking questions about the game. Where
not just yell at them?
And not just yell at them about things that are not relevant. Or Lacey in particular was completely disrespectful to all three of the jurors from I know you covered it in the Outwit Outlast
yes.
The podcast about how she's asking Cassandra about her water shoes, about how she was Lisi of all people who had wanted to quit is talking about how Cassandra was completely unprepared for this experience. Dreams asking how many zeros are in a million. I'm really happy that Dreams,
again, in fairness to Dreams, that when I'm watching that back, she's saying like, okay, Dreams, how many zeros are in a million? I'm like, this is easy, 7. And Dreams is like, 6. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I counted the 1. So stupid. Yeah.
And then I'm glad Dreams pushed back and was like, why are you asking me this question? And then I forgot about that part where she says Earl was putting on a show about how shocked he was about voting out Yao-Man.
Yeah.
Which was saying he was shocked about Dreams going back on the deal, but he knew when that happened that he had to vote out Yao-Man. It was like questions like that were completely ridiculous and uncalled for. In this final 3, I would have liked to have spent more time actually looking at their games. So the fact that it was a lot of yelling and a lot of I want you to admit that you screwed me over type questions or non-questions were very it was unfortunate that that's how this season ended, a season that meant a lot to me too.
Yeah.
May I also add that for Lisi, like, what was her problem with Earl? She never even was on a tribe with Earl. She never met Earl. Why are you mad at Earl?
I'm gonna I have a theory actually.
Like, or Yao-Man for that matter. Like, you were not on a tribe with him either. It wasn't like oh yeah, all of a sudden you cared about Yao-Man.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I do have a theory that after listening to the Don Meehan talk to T-Bird, I think that this jury might have maybe had a few
I'm so glad you brought this up because Dawn complained. I think in both of her final tribal councils, she said, why do they let the jurors get wasted? And I'm like, I didn't even know that happens. But now I'm watching these final tribal councils. All right, Aaron, give me your pick. Who do you think might have potentially been the most hammered at this final tribal council?
Hands down, Lisi.
Okay.
Hands down. And maybe
I have a different draft pick
too, but
I also have a different draft.
Yes, who would you say is up there?
I would say Alex for his rambling to Cassandra about voting out or dropping Stacy when Cassandra did not, in fact, vote out Stacy.
Yeah, that was crazy.
She got voted out. She was idled out by Yao-Man and Earl. So if he was going to be mad at anybody, it should have been Earl. But they seemed very Alex was very adamant about Cassandra apologizing to Stacy for something she didn't do, and then wouldn't let Cassandra correct him either.
He berated her.
Yeah.
For
no reason. He really wanted to be a lawyer in that moment. He really did. He was so sure. And it's not even like this tribal council was like the third one. Like this just happened like a couple tribals ago. Did you not see all these votes for Yao-Man come out? Like what world were you in?
Can I give you my pick? I'm going to go off the board for most drunk at this tribal council. I think Rocky looks like that. He looks like he can't even stand up almost. That when he's talking about who's the biggest kicker out there, that I that seems very on brand. That Rocky.
I think it was very close to how he was on Rabu, so it was hard to tell. But he had a couple stumbles on his way to ask his question as well.
Yeah. I did think it was interesting, the question about, I think Stacy asked the question about Earl and like, why should he get the money over Dreams? And I think that this is something that comes up in a lot of these seasons about who needs the money. Specifically, Survivor Nicaragua had like a ton of conversation about, well, the person that wins the game should be the person who needs the money. And Earl is able to do, a really nice job here as somebody to talk about, like, especially when he's up against Dreams in the final 3, to talk about, hey, like I came from, I had a single mother and I had all sorts of stuff in my family. And, just because I have a job doesn't mean I don't need like, we're all here. We all need that money. And so I thought he is able to like argue that like in a really strong position of like and not stumble. I think even, you know, like when Mike White is in the final 3 against Nick Wilson, like I think it's a question that he's you know, supposedly not able to answer well, where Earl is able to like give it like a really strong answer there.
Oh yeah.
Earl's for all the disaster that was that final jury, I think Earl was had a lot to work with in his game, and he made the most of it with every question that he got, and was really trying to make sure everyone knew just how involved he was with every vote he was a part of, every move that was made, everything in merge he had a hand in. So he really maximized everything he could have possibly done with this final tribal council. So even though I think Dreams and Cassandra were definitely at a disadvantage here with some of the players that they lived with being specifically angry at them, Earl made the most of his time there, and really it was one of the best performances that you could have asked for with what they were given. So was absolutely astounding in here.
Yeah. I mean, his probably toughest question comes from Yowman, who wants to know, like, why did you vote for me at the tribal council? And you know, he does like the classic a season before Todd, who gets a lot of credit for this. You would win. You would be the winner if I didn't get you out. So I had to get you out. And it seems good enough for Yowman.
Yeah. Even he got his vote, and they did the reunion piece at the end where so if Dreams is out and Yao is in, who wins? And he's right, if Yowman is in and Dreams is out, then who wins? Then Yowman wins by like 6 votes. So it was the right answer. It was the truthful answer too. I liked Michelle's question as well about what their biggest hardship on the island was. And I think that is another example of all 3 players, how they are with the games. Is asking what their biggest hardship was. And Dreams was able to highlight that he talks a lot about how Survivor is actually a little easier than some of his life before the game. So the only thing that was really different was the thirst that he had to contend with. Cassandra was talking about her inability to swim, which I think showcases that she was probably the most distance from any type of island life or then the game, but she was still able to make it to the end. And then Earl talks about starting out this game in being in Ravu, losing everything, and then constantly being the one to go to Exile Island as well. So that's another example of how he's using a question like, what's your biggest hardship, to really outline, this is everything I've been through in this game.
Yeah. To go back to Michelle's question and Dreams' answer, I did think that was like a really interesting response that he gave, where he talked about, for him, like being out there in the elements, like it wasn't that different for him than because he like was coming from so little, like, okay, well, this wasn't a big deal for him, but sort of like the part about the game where like he's like making friends, but then also having to like sort of like vote these people out, like sort of like the like interoffice politics that you might be more familiar with, like if you come from like a more corporate environment, like that was the part that was really strange for him. And I thought that was just an interesting thing about his character, where typically it's the opposite, where that people are like, well, you know, I'm sort of like, hey, I'm used to playing like these high stakes games at my job, but being out here in the element is completely foreign to me. For Dreams, it's like the reverse.
This is exactly why Dreams is probably one of my favorite players that we've ever had on the show, is because he's so candid about his life experience and how it pertains to in the show, why it's that's the reason why he plays so hard, why he was making all these moves, and maybe he doesn't have the most tact when he's making these moves, but there's a reason behind them, and there is a strategy to it, even if he's underestimated a lot throughout the season. And especially in the earlier episodes, we get a lot of Dreams confessionals about what his life was like before the game, outside of the game, and how it's hard for him to be around some of these players that really haven't suffered the way he has in their life, and they're really taking this experience for granted, particularly they're on the moto camp. They have everything that you could possibly want in Survivor, and there's still players that aren't treating him or Cassandra well, and really taking the fact that they are players in the game and they are votes in the game for granted. And I think that's something that we definitely need to highlight about. This is why Dreams and Cassandra got to the final two, because they were underdogs and were able to make the flips that they needed to get themselves in a better position when that was available to them. So it was definitely, I really like this question from Michelle because of these answers that we get from these players, and I think it really highlights them as individuals in this game.
Yeah. We go to the reunion after the win, and of course, Earl is the first unanimous winner in the show's history, right? Not is he first unanimous or first 9-0?
First unanimous.
First unanimous winner in the show's history. And you know, it's funny that Jeff brings up the story about how, you know, Earl, I think he had like applied to be on The Amazing Race, if I remember the story correctly. And talked about how, he had not really even seen the show and went on to a flawless victory.
You go first.
And he tries to say like, well, I like the show now. Yeah, now I'm a big fan.
It's crazy how these people who were sort of alternates or were sort of brought in at the last second tend to do well. I kind of remember that a similar story with Tina being an alternate being brought in at the last second. And then Earl here, the same kind of story where he's brought in at the last second. Being able to sort of quickly adapt and do ultimately very, very well and going on to win it's really cool to see that, you know, if this is Earl with almost zero preparation, you know, imagine and Earl also, you know, booked with the knowledge of the game as well on top of that.
Yeah. Aaron, in the real time, do you remember like the reception to Survivor Fiji?
Yeah, I do. A lot of people, you know, as with whatever current season is on, you know, if people aren't really, especially from the twist, people were just like, hate the have not. This is the worst season of all time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this car deal is very icky, you know, especially because it's surrounded by 2 seasons, Cook Islands before it and China after it, which are very beloved, which I still stand by my statement that I think Fiji and Cook Island should have flipped reputations. I really do think that Fiji should be much more celebrated than Cook Islands is. But yeah, I feel like Fiji being in the middle of that at the time kind of made people not really pay attention to it much afterwards either.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, this is the heavy inner tube era as well, as we saw.
We love inner tube.
Yes, inner tube with Fire Masters. So on the inner tube, we had Survivor Live every week, which at the time I believe was Dalton Ross and Jenna Maraska. And I remember watching each week, sort of watching them interview who was leaving and getting more information that way. So that was doing well. But yeah, other than that, I don't think really people were very into it all that much. Loved Yao Man, of course.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Gio, when we spoke with Earl on one of the roundtables that we did last summer, that he talked about how like he was actually very hurt by the way that Jeff and or CBS like talked about the season after the fact, and the way that they almost talked about that this season wasn't one of their favorites, and he felt like that this could have been like a good opportunity to do more of an outreach to a Black audience, and it seemed like that they weren't really, excited to, do more and like get Earl more places.
I completely agree with Earl. I remember just watching this season as a kid, and I wasn't very involved in any Survivor fandom or website at that time. I watched the show when it was on, and I really liked what I saw with this season, and I was very excited to see the final 4, but then the final 3 as well. So, eventually, as I got more into Survivor fandom, realizing that Fiji was ranked consistently low was very hurtful, because this is a season that means a lot to me, and it is specifically because of Earl, one of, if not my absolute favorite winner, Cassandra, and Dreams, and Yao-Min as well, as the final 4. So to see the fact that there is potential there for them to really highlight the fact that they have their first Black male winner. I know they didn't do a whole lot with Vesepia either,
No.
and that, so it's unfortunate that it happened twice at that point. It's very. I listened to both of those roundtables. I was very excited to see what all the players there had to say. To hear that Earl had not been invited back to a reunion despite living nearby, the fact that he had to really promote himself after the show as the first Black male winner, instead of allowing Survivor being the ones to really highlight the fact that not only is this our first Black male winner, this is our first unanimous winner. And look how well he did during this game, and look how much he had to overcome, starting from the tribe that was losing everything to being our first unanimous winner. The fact that they didn't do anything with that is incredibly disrespectful. The fact that they talked about how the final 3, or they talked about just the season in general, about how it's not a great season. Earl and Yao-Man are cool, but then like there's not much else there. But we've been talking about it for almost 3 hours now. There's a lot here.
I still have questions.
And we still have questions, but
yeah.
we have. There's so much to love about this season, even if it isn't a perfect season. So the fact that it's been kind of pushed to the side is very disappointing and upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
How did Earl not get an invite back for and I don't know, I can't say like again where he said no on these things, but I feel like that how did he not make Heroes versus Villains?
Oh,
that would have been great.
Well, that would have been really good.
We didn't
have any Fiji representation on.
No,
on
I mean the only Fiji returnee was Yao-Man in Fans versus Favorites, and he's there for 3 episodes, and that's it. And nobody else has returned from Fiji.
Yeah. Nope, that's it. Who would Earl replace for Fiji? Maybe Tom, or I don't know.
I think that they would be excited to have Tom back, but I'm sorry if you were going to replace one of the men on the Heroes. I don't know. They could have figured out a way to get him in there. If they wanted it.
He played on an odd number season before. He can do it again.
Yeah,
like 21 instead.
And then I believe that I know that he had his daughter was born around the time of Winners at War, but I'm not sure if then they didn't reach out, or if that was a reason why he didn't come back for Winners at War. But it does seem crazy that after the game he played, what did JT play 3 times?
Yeah. And he's the next unanimous winner to come after Earl. And JT's back like all the time.
And the way that, considering how they really liked to hype up JT and Cochran for being playing the perfect games, and they hyped them up all the time, that Earl was 1 vote away from that perfect game, but really it's 1 throwaway vote. I think it's close enough.
Jeff didn't even remember.
Jeff ignored it.
It wasn't even in their minds at that time. So the fact that he still played a fantastic game and he got a unanimous vote, which was unheard of at the time, and with 2 other players sitting next to him, he played a miraculous game. He should have been on. I would have loved to see him on here. Heroes versus Villains, but I will take any season if he is coming back.
Who else from Fiji should we have seen back by this point?
I could say I could see a Michelle. I could see Stacy. I could see Dreams, of course.
Yeah, Dream seemed very eager to play again when I talk, and you know he's still in great shape. I mean, he was young when he played, so I think he's only like 39 at this point.
Yeah.
So he's still in his prime to play Survivor. I think that would be very interesting to see. That's just sort of like the growth of Dreams of like, okay, he was 24 when he played the first time, but now let's see him like as like a full adult now.
He's absolutely a player that should have been brought back at least once by now. But I'm hoping with these new diversity initiatives, when they do have returning seasons, that he would be a player that they would consider to bring back again, because that's definitely a player that I would love to see return, especially with how he ended the season. It would definitely be a great player to return back as well. I want Anthony to come back too. After reading his quarantine questionnaire that he would come back, I would like to see him come back as well. I could see them bringing back a 4 horseman, probably Alex. I
think the ship has sailed for Alex. With all due respect to Alex,
I could see them bringing him back. He is not my. He is not my choice for who they would bring back. And honestly, I would make a case for Cassandra coming back as well. I think she kind of got a raw deal with the edit that she was under edited compared to the other members of the Final Four, and especially in a season where a lot of the women went out so quickly. We got some good moments with Cassandra, but I feel like we could get a lot more good moments. And if she wanted to come back, I'd love to see her come back.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and talk through some of our questions. Okay. This is from Chris, who says, if Dreams gives Yao Man the necklace of the Final Four, how does the final 3 play out between Earl and Yao Man, assuming Cassandra still gets 0 votes? Is that what they asked at the reunion?
It's 6-3. Yao Man Earl getting the 3 votes, and then Yao Man getting 6.
I wrote it down. I think the only players that didn't raise their hand for voting for Yao Man, I'm assuming they would still vote with Earl in this case, were Michelle, Edgardo, and Dreams didn't raise his hand. I'm assuming that he would have voted for Earl had he won too. I don't know if that was just, they didn't specifically say, Dreams, you're part of the jury now, so answer this question with us. But I think, Michelle, Edgardo, and Dreams were the only 3 that said they would vote for Earl.
So I think a more interesting way to look at this, Elizabeth asked the question about what would have happened if Dreams didn't accept the car deal. Could he have won the season? So let's say he did accept the car deal, but Yao Man didn't play his idol at the final 6. Okay, so hypothetically, Yao Man, Dreams took the car deal. Yao Man is still burned, but not in the way that he was expecting. He gets voted out at 6. Presume that Boo and Stacy get voted out at the next 2 votes, and we still have the same final 3. Is it possible? Could Dreams have had some goodwill then at that point that he didn't at Tribal Council break the Yao Man deal? Is that possible that maybe he could have gotten at least a few votes?
I could see him possibly getting Boo's vote.
Yeah.
Looking at the jury that we have right now, I don't see a lot. So Yao Man would definitely be voting for Earl. Michelle would definitely be voting for Earl. I feel like they have a lot of votes. I think they have a lot of players like Lisi and Mookie and probably like the other 4 horsemen, Edgardo and Alex, that just won't vote for Dreams because of how he burned them. So I feel like he has a better chance of getting some votes. But I don't know how. I do think Earl still wins in the end, just based on the mentality at that point.
Yeah.
So I do want to also mention, Aaron, that, I think it's an underreported story that Edgardo and Alex and Mookie, they're not mad about the truck also. They are mad about, I think those three guys that sit there at Ponderosa every night and be like, boy, Dreams really screwed us over. We should have never told them about the idol. Yeah. And Mookie is like, yeah, it's all Dreams' fault.
Yep.
Dreams really burned us.
Yeah, especially, for those first couple of people in the jury, I mean, it's basically all of that other Ravu team that's there, plus Michelle, of course. And so having to stew and kind of be in that groupthink of, man, if we should have kept Lisi. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, with every different scenario under the sun. Do we think we would be as screwed as we are now if it wasn't for that? And it would have taken a lot for them to turn around and want to vote for Dreams in the end, especially because, especially for the original Moto people who had been kind of frustrated with Dreams from the beginning and not really having him in their alliance, to start off. So it'd be hard to kind of get them to want to do that.
Yeah. I'm sure that these Ponderosa pile-ons, you had the other three horsemen plus Lisi plus Rocky. I'm sure it was a lot of complaining about Dreams at Ponderosa. All right. Let's talk about Earl. And Ailish wants to know, how do you think Earl would have done on Winners at War? And who do you think he would have replaced?
I mean, the male winner that's closest to his win would have been Yule, but I really hope that they win it, that Yule was not Earl's replacement in there. So just because I really like Yule. So, and I remember Yule saying that, mentioning that he would have liked to have seen Earl because they were friendly with each other before too. Yeah. So in a perfect world, they would have been working together, but I could see him replacing maybe one of the.
Can I just say that there's might be a difference between who we might want to replace and who he could have replaced.
I think he replaces Wendell, because I think if we're looking at the makeup of the male winners, they'd probably be looking at Jeremy or Wendell. And I think Jeremy, especially with Second Chances, has such a good reputation that season. So having somebody from that season would be very important. And Ghost Island was people were kind of like, with Ghost Island, and having an earlier winner such as Earl kind of evens up the old school, new school. And it wouldn't really make a difference in terms of the cast makeup.
And I think that probably Wendell and Jeremy were probably two of the first phone calls that they made when they were going to do that. But then I think that they felt like, well, do we need Earl also? I kind of feel like that's how the discussion went, because I think that there's a couple of people that Earl on merit should have definitely been there over.
Oh yeah.
I guess if he did replace Wendell, then in my little perfect world where Earl and Yule are working together, that's not what happens. Yeah. But let's say yes. But then
well, they're on the same tribe, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. So they are. So then I feel like, I mean, that'd be a number in their favor over the new school player. So maybe Yule stays instead of and they have a different vote at the tribe swap depending on. So maybe that could have shake things up for the old school players, or at least for a little bit longer. I'd like to think that they make it a little further with Earl there, but I don't know.
Also, I think Earl probably has a good relationship with Danny. They're both from Kansas City. right?
Mhm.
And I feel like that Earl, he doesn't have a big target on his back like some of these other people. So I feel like that he'd be able to sort of like ride the line between the old school and new school. You know, some of the younger players like Adam has like a reverence for Earl also. So I think that he would be in a good spot. Like I don't think he would come in and play too hard, too fast. Yeah, I think that Winners at War would actually be like for a lot of these people we talk about, like, yeah, they probably wouldn't have done too good, but I think that he's one of the people that probably would have had like a better landing spot.
Yeah.
And he returns to Fiji. He's the
It
Fiji champion.
The official
it's so
king of
perfect.
Fiji.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
So, yeah, that would have been good. John and DC wants to know, does it make Earl's win more or less impressive that he came in having not seen the show?
more
It's more
impressive. I would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? Like it's
Yeah.
like all on instinct.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
just his
And I think
natural gifts.
he's that good. He's that smart. He did not need prior knowledge to the show to win and be the first unanimous winner. That's very impressive.
Mhm.
I don't know if I mean, I know there's one of the downsides of Fiji was that they were all recruits when
Yeah.
they or except for Gary. So, but I think this is kind of a lesson that listen, you don't need to be a super fan to be a compelling player on Survivor. It's really about perspective when you come into the show. And I love when super fans play, but I don't think it's the only qualifier for
Yeah.
a good Survivor player. And I think this season proves it, especially with Earl's win.
I also think that at that point in time, I think you could like come in off the street and like pick things up like pretty quickly. But now I do think like you do like knowing like all the advantages that are out there and all the different like I don't think you need to be a super duper fan, but I do think that, you know, watching at least like the last like 4 seasons or so, I think is something that probably is going to help you a lot based on like all the different things that are going on and how fast the game moves. Ryan Patterson wants to know if it's a final 2 as it was intended and Earl got voted out in 3rd place, who would have won in the final 2 between Cassandra and Dreams?
Cassandra. Because they didn't really seem to have any complaints with her. You know, Cassandra, I mean, she was in the hub of everything. She was somebody that a lot of people, but she really was, though. I mean, she was in a very prime position. She was kind of the Laurel to Earl and Yao-Man's Wendell and Dominic a little bit there. And that she was in a very pivotal position and had a lot of information to do with what she would, and she made the attempt to, you know, eliminate Yao Man, and they would have also gotten out Earl at that point as well. So the fact that they were able to go ahead and make those moves, I feel a lot of people would still be frustrated with Dreams for not giving up the immunity, and then, you know, Cassandra for being able to kind of outlast, really.
Yeah, she was so pleasant the whole time that she just like was didn't stop like smiling like any conversation that she was having, no matter what it was, she had like a big smile on. And the funniest thing I thought that she said during the season was that at the vote where Liliana goes home, she talks about like she's like, I just think Liliana is just the best member of the tribe, and she's gonna go very far in this game. And I knew Liliana was getting voted out. I was like, oh, this is so shady. Like I'm like, oh, she's like, watch this. But then I looked it up that she didn't even vote. She voted for Lisi. So I was like, I thought that I was like, wow, what a send off. But no, it's just funny that she like says like she's gonna go so far, and then she doesn't. But I think that she's just is like, other than her water shoes, like I don't think there was anything bad you could say about her at the final tribal council.
No.
I think it would help if they had Earl and Jury too at that point. He trusted Cassandra completely, and so I think that would be a good person to really champion you in the jury. I think it would depend. I know like Edgardo on his way out said he did not like Cassandra at all. Alex had his whole rant to her at the jury, so I don't know if I don't think it would be a unanimous vote, But I agree. I think Cassandra has it at the end.
Yeah. Let's say from Michael M. Which of the four horsemen is the best player? Can we rank the four horsemen as players?
I would say Edgardo's the best of the four.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably say Alex second.
Yeah.
Because Alex is still very socially and strategically aware. I think Mookie is a close third.
Mm-hmm.
But only because I feel like Mookie makes some fundamental mistakes in terms of easily giving away information that he should not have.
Yes.
And then, well, I don't really.
Are we counting Dreams in this?
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, he's one of the four horsemen.
Yeah.
I feel like Dreams is hard to rank.
He is hard to rank. And
yeah.
I also want to know, like, Edgardo and Alex, are they actually good at Survivor? Like, I feel like that they're sort of like replacement level Survivor players. Like, what did they do that was that good?
I mean, I know Cassandra, Earl, and Dreams. Well, Earl calls themselves the Three Amigos at the end of the season. But I do think they are. I feel like Earl, Alex, and Mookie are basically the Three Amigos, except if they all were relatively good at the game strategically. And I don't know what that means as far as their prowess compared to everybody else, but just in comparison, like coming into this season after watching all the other ones, I'm like, oh, they know what they're doing. I mean, they seem to be socially aware enough to know that they needed to keep Dreams and Cassandra close when the other people were like, but that could also just be a basic thing to think about.
I think they were very good Survivor players when they were out there. I think they had the makings of it for this season. They definitely played up like the strategic villain, but a lot of their plans fell short, and it seemed like it was very easy for them for players to see right through them. Yes. And they do make some fundamental mistakes. They certainly weren't good enough social players that Cassandra and Dreams felt like, oh, you know what, I want to hold on to them a little longer, or even like consider staying with Moto at any point, because the minute we get a confessional from Dreams about how they're being treated on the island, they do say that Lacey and Stacy are the worst to them in that 5, but they were like, as soon as we get the opportunity, we're flipping, like as soon as possible. Give us just let us know when, and we're there. We're flipping. Absolutely. So I don't think they're not spectacular players. They're probably in the more Three Amigos type section for me. I think Dreams is actually the best of the players given the four horsemen, given the situations they were put in, because I think he was able to really read the situation. He was playing the middle ground, and I think he really hyped up the fact that he was really using the fact that people were going to underestimate him and his strategy to his advantage, so that he was able to kind of play this middleman for some of the blind sides that happened, and that, he was, as soon as he picks up on the fact that he's on the outs, he makes a move to leave. Does he have the best tact in some of these decisions? No, but he's definitely the most entertaining out of these players too. I would say.
I was just going to add that Dreams can also win challenges, which I don't think that did any of the other guys win an immunity in the season.
No, Alex almost did, but no.
Yeah. And then also and Jeff mentions at the reunion show about that, Dreams has sort of like charm that's sort of like a superpower, where that I wouldn't really say that either of the other three guys has like any ability that you would say is in that superpower category.
Yeah. I would say Dreams is definitely at the top for that four horsemen then, with all of this in terms of the best of those players. And then I liked Mookie before he got swapped onto the second Rabu, like the pre Four Horsemen. He was the level-headed one in that group outside, especially compared to the fact that he was a duo with Rocky for a good portion of it.
He was kind of mean to Anthony about the pig snout. He could not get over that Anthony, again, he couldn't just, if he wanted it bad enough, he could have swallowed it. Come on.
Yeah, you try the pig snout then.
If you want to swallow the pig snout bad enough, you can.
Yeah. So then I guess it would be Dreams. Okay, Aaron, I agree. I would probably put Edgardo, possibly.
Dreams
again, those two voted out Liliana because Lisi wanted to on day 11.
Yeah, that's true. That was I'm still sad about that.
Okay.
I know.
Nick Fishman, you're one of your amigos. That Aaron, Nick Fishman, and Jordan Kalish are the original three amigos.
Yeah, Nick Fishman's a Fiji lover.
Yes. What would have made the unequal camps twist work better? Make more opportunities for the camps to switch?
Yeah, I kind of thought about that at the bottle twist. Like, I wish that was a choice, sort of like the medallion of power dynamic, except it's sort of like, okay, you win the challenge. Now you have the choice. And every challenge, the choice is immunity or luxury. Do you want immunity or do you want to stay at your camp? The cost of staying at your camp is losing a member. And then that kind of gives more opportunity for the tribes to stay relatively even, maybe the camps to switch around. I guess the caveat would be maybe it might be confusing for the audience if they keep switching beaches all the time, but
the audience doesn't care about the beaches.
Yeah, that's true. They'll know the colors and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing with that, Aaron.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a way to make this better. I mean, that why it doesn't work on any of these shows that they try to do this.
No.
Yeah.
Take away some of the things they got. They don't need a couch or a hammock.
China to be having a tea party.
Did they end up with 3 sets of the same fishing gear because they kept offering it as why do we keep offering the same things? Like, you already have fishing gear. They don't need it anymore.
Okay. How about Kyle wants to know, is the Edgardo blindside one of the best episodes in the history of Survivor?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. No, I think that was the high point of the season. I was just like typing away like a madman while that was going on.
Oh, it's so good.
Just the way that it plays out, the back and forth, the fact that it was the simplicity of the fact that so much drama was made of just an idol being played or being put into the equation, and the fact that this was the first season where the idols were used in this format after the votes were cast, but before they were read. The fact that Touchy Subjects was in this episode was also great. So it was just all around. It's one of the best episodes of the entire series. Definitely the high point of this season. It was so good. It's such a good episode.
Oh, so good.
Okay.
The reactions as Edgardo's name was read. It was poetic cinema. It was great.
Oh, amazing.
All right. Cassie Randolph says, is Michelle Yee the most swap screwed of all time? If that's a regular merge, she's easily Final Four due to her alliance with Yao and Earl. We talked about the Michelle vote. Boo would have gone home there. So what happens with Michelle if this doesn't end up going the way that it went? Aaron, where do you think Michelle lands?
Well, Michelle was originally in that Final Four with Yao, Earl, and Cassandra. So probably in that Stacy spot, because Stacy was the next target after Boo anyway. So I would assume, once they got down to it, they probably would have eliminated Dreams earlier and gone to the Final Four like Yao Man wanted. I mean, with Michelle gone, then Earl and Yao Man were kind of on different pages about the new fourth member, because Yao wanted Stacy to be the new fourth and Earl wanted Dreams to be the new fourth. So
Yeah.
that kind of opened up a lot of things. But I think Michelle easily Final Four, probably Final Three, to be honest.
Well, I think that does change a lot of things because I think then like Yao Man ends up, I think, being kind of screwed at the point where Michelle ends up going home because then they end up getting Dreams involved, and then they have basically like that Final Three pact from earlier in the game going, and Yao Man is kind of on the outside looking in, whereas like it changes the math a lot with Michelle back in the picture.
Yeah, I think it definitely could have been a more Earl, Michelle, Yao Final Three because they were already together at Ravu, and it would have been easy to kind of justify that.
Yeah, we don't really know who Michelle was more loyal to. It seems like that we see her talk to Earl more in the show, but you know, it's unclear as to like who she would have been more loyal to, or she maybe might feel like I don't want to sit at the end with Yao Man.
Yeah,
I don't know. Okay, and then how about Amanda wants to know, is there another season with 2 jury members before the merge? Is this the longest pre-merge ever?
No.
So Cook Islands, I think, also has 2 people before the merge. No?
Yeah, Cook Islands, they merge on episode 11. I was looking at that, like, that is a long pre-merge. 10 episode pre-merge could not. Ooh, at least this is only 8 episodes.
And then Gia, Heroes versus Villains also has 2 before the merge.
I think actually that might have just been one because I know Coach
and Courtney, I think.
Yeah, Coach and Courtney.
Yeah, and Courtney. Yeah, so Heroes versus Villains too. I don't like when they do that because they have so many like that's 2 jurors that haven't played with.
It's a bad idea.
It's not good. I mean, they voted for Earl in this case, but they also didn't get the chance to be screwed over by Earl either in that regard. But yeah, it is a pretty long pre-merge considering what we get now.
Well, it's like a trade-off. You know, that I feel like that we have like huge casts, but like we merge in like episode 6 or 7 and we have like a 13-person merge. We merge here at 10, and then we have even like in this season where you have a merge, it's like kind of like a fake merge where we still have a 5-person tribal council the first vote of the merge, and then the back half of the season just flies by. So you know, it depends on like you know, pick your poison of the pre-merge goes on, but then it's like you're going up the roller coaster in the first half of the season, and then that's a quick ride down. I feel like that there's only like are there only like 4 episodes or 5 episodes before the finale of the merge?
There's 6 episodes of the merge total, including the finale.
Yeah. So it goes by, you know, real fast. All right. Okay. So also the episode names of the season. This season has some great episode names.
Really good. Yes.
We have snakes are misunderstood. We have an understanding now, which was an Earl quote. We have this makes me laugh just reading it. This is not survival, it's a thrival.
Boo, I love that quote.
The video, the picture of Boo just swinging along in the hand would be like, yeah, it's rough out here. Says he's living in the lap of luxury. It's like comedic perfection. I loved it.
We have the let's just call Jeff on the Jeff phone. We're starving out here. There's the Yao Man, love many, trust few, do wrong to none. I like that one.
Yes.
Yes. It's a turtle is another one. So yeah, really good names for the episodes here in this season. Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right. Let's get to our survey of what the listeners thought about this season. Every week we ask the listeners to give us their thoughts. All right. Who is the season's MVP?
It's gonna be either Earl or Yao Man.
It should be Dreams, but I think it's
yes.
Dreams is definitely the MVP. Dreams drives so much of the action, but I think it's probably gonna be Yao Man.
I'll say Earl then, since you said Yao Man.
I would have said Earl, but it is Yao Man with 50%. Earl had 43% of the vote.
Yeah.
Dreams had 2.6% of the vote.
It should be Dreams, though. It really should be.
That is like a big disparity, though, between second and third.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What one-time player would you most like to see come back and play again in a future season?
I think this one would be between Earl, Dreams, and Michelle.
I would agree.
Maybe.
You do have the top three.
Yeah, I would agree.
And then
what's the order?
I voted. Oh God. I think I did Dreams. Because I know Earl's coming back at some point. They've asked him so much. He has to come back.
Yeah.
Earl is the winner. 53% for Earl, 18% for Michelle Yee, and 15% for Dreams.
Love all those three.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. Has anybody ever heard from Michelle Yee?
I don't know, but I really want to. Like, I want to hear from Michelle.
I looked her up on Facebook today. I typed in because usually like almost any survivor, it's like then I have 300 mutual friends. What a flex of with any of these survivors. But no, I said Michelle Yee. I couldn't find anybody that I had any mutual friends with. Okay. What name in the cast list made you say, "Wait, who's that"?
I wish Melissa McNulty was an option, but
that would be good. But she's the most famous for being the person who quit.
Yeah.
It would be, I think, Liliana or maybe Jessica.
I would have said Rita or Jessica.
I think.
Yes.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think Rita has some notoriety for just being the Earl vote.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And then her spin on Price is Right. Yeah, that's right.
It is. Yes. Well, yeah. And you mentioned the Price is Right. What is she? She like knees Drew Carey in the groin, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that? You know that? That's out there?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, if Rocky thought she was annoying on the tribe, ask Drew Carey what she's like. Yeah. So then it was Erica with 30%.
Oh, what? But Erica's. She's
got the second boot thing where it's like, I think people remember the first boots. I would have said Liliana. I said that when we did the evolution strategy, Liliana was like the most was this person even there? She's not even like, forget Purple Kelly. Like she's not even shown in the first 3 episodes.
Nothing edit.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, she's giving everybody a massage and Lisi's telling you about what she's all about. And then she gets voted out. Liliana.
Yeah.
All right. Erica was 30%, Jessica 26.9, Liliana 26 even. All right. Most underrated player of the season.
This is hard. I almost want to say Dreams or Cassandra.
Yeah, I would say Cassandra.
Cassandra is 3. She's at 16%. Dreams is at 16.5%, but the winner is Michelle Yee.
Yeah, Michelle. Yeah.
18.9%. All right. Who got the Kelly Wentworth Award for Best Pre-Merge Boot?
Ooh.
Anthony. Are we saying
Anthony?
Yes. Are we saying
Anthony? Which I yell constantly at my house. That's my son's name. Yeah, it is Anthony. 31.8%. Second place.
I'm gonna say.
Are they saying Rocky just because they're Gary?
He was a go-to guy. 28% for Rocky.
Okay.
And then what about third? Kelly Wentworth Award.
Rita?
It's not Rita.
Did they really do the go-to girl, Lisi?
Go-to girl, yes. Yes. So there you go, Lisi. Lisi, 11%.
What?
All right. We asked the listeners, okay, where do you rank the winner of the season, with 1 being the best winner and 40 being the worst winner? What was the average that the listeners said?
This is one of the best winners they've had of all time. Definitely one of the best single like first time players. So Earl should be in single digits.
Yeah.
I don't know if people voted him that way, but I'm letting them know they should have put him in a single digit place.
Yeah.
I put 1, but
okay.
One.
I was being generous.
I put 8, so I'm assuming 10 or higher.
The audience voted 14. Now I will say that just to give you context, though, that in this is a great thing that the tabulator Kurt Clark has been doing. He's been putting the winner number ranking in order. So Earl, actually, of the 13 seasons that we've talked about, has scored the 3rd best. So of the seasons that we talked about, he is 3rd. I'll give you the top 5. It's Kim, Boston Rob, Earl, Sarah, Cochran. That's the top 5. So when you ultimately, we'll walk away with this for a list of how high people that the audience think that they are ranked, and maybe that will be a better indicator of how high of a ranking they got. All right, so right now, right now Earl is 3rd behind only Kim and Boston Rob. Okay. It sounds a lot better in that context. Then, is this season too low, too high, or just right? What do you think the audience said?
This season's too low. I mean, I think it's too low. I don't know.
I know it's too low, but considering what we've seen, I think some people are going to say it's too high or just right, but it's too low.
Okay.
It's too low. Yeah.
41% of the audience said it was just right. 31% said it was too high. And 26% said it was too low. Okay.
Where do you have this ranked, Gia, as a season?
Oh, I ranked it 3rd because of just my personal connections to it. And there are some moments I really liked. I don't know. When I did my ranking, I did it on just like my personal connection to it and how I really liked the seasons. But it would be if I did the re-ranking again, it would still be in my top 10.
Let me ask you about that. Was there anything from the season that we didn't get to talk about that either of you came in with something that you wanted to address from the season?
Ooh. I think yes. I feel like there's a lot of things that people don't like about the season in terms of like the suffering of Ravu, but then I take a look at things like Edge of Extinction and the malnutrition of Karamoan, for example, and then I look back at this and I go, when I actually watch the episodes, I mean, they actually weren't really like episode 1, they just get to the island. Episode 2, Erica finds pineapple. Episode 3, Michelle makes the fire. So it's really just they're just losing, which I mean we've seen in Oolong do that. We've seen, Manu do that. I feel like there's tribes that lose a lot that you still can like the season overall for. So I think a lot of the points that people don't like about the season, I think with time and just the history of all these 40 seasons, I think doesn't really hold up as well today as maybe it could have in 2007.
Okay.
Give Fiji a chance.
Yeah. Well, hey, Survivor, at least the location. Survivor's like, we were wrong about Fiji.
Yeah.
We need to let's give Fiji another chance. Let's never leave. We love it. Okay. And Gia, was there anything else that you wanted to get into from the season?
I was just gonna say I really like the challenges they did. It was a nice variety, and they seemed fun. I like the eating challenge. They didn't seem too bad, that one. They had octopus and
the gross food challenge.
Eating challenge.
Yes. Well, I love my clip of the big showdown between Anthony and Papa Smurf. Here I have
Papa Smurf starting on his second snout.
Papa Smurf's one moment of glory.
Yes.
They hurt themselves a lot on camp and in these challenges. Constantly. It is of like it is its own recurring storyline, they all hurt themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you like the battleship challenge?
I did.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of here for it.
The fact that two of them sabotaged their own boats
On the first shot.
on the first shot made it pretty funny.
Yeah.
I think they could have made the board a little bigger because it felt like they were all really crammed into there.
Like I think Boo and Mookie had the exact same.
Yeah. What was going to happen if they ultimately why'd they let them do that? Are they going to share immunity?
Because what do? You're like, no, you can't put yours there. Why? You just can't. You gotta pick a different one. But I liked the battleship one. The battleship one was fun. I think they could have made the board a little bigger.
Yeah, the board could have been at least 6x6. I think it was 5x5. And then also that it seemed like that they weren't letting them look at like a representation of the board. Like they had to just remember where it was. And I feel like that's not really fair for battleship. They also had a memory challenge, which was usually the memory challenge is very boring on Survivor, but it actually turned into like one of the more interesting pre-merge challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that one was so fun.
Yeah. And Lacey takes a face plant also during that, which is another great moment. Lots of good falls in this season. All right. So next week, we're going to talk about the 27th best season of Survivor. Okay. Let me get. Do you have predictions of what it could be?
Yeah, Fiji is so low. I cannot believe that we have not talked about All Stars, Gabon. I could think are the two that immediately come to my mind.
Okay.
That have historically have not had the best.
Yes.
That could be around here.
Gia, do you have a prediction?
How has Samoa not come up yet?
Oh, also, yeah.
It was like that. I feel like the Fiji's way more exciting than Samoa.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a ranked higher than Samoa.
I would say either Samoa. I've heard All Stars a couple times, so maybe All Stars. I'm trying. I don't know which other ones would be. I think Gabon has a mixed reception, so I don't know if that's like the next one up because I think some people really like just how chaotic it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say Samoa. That'll be my guess.
We polled the audience. We asked the audience, what season do you think is next? And the audience said they think the next season is Gabon. But is it? So let's tell you, the 28th best season of Survivor coming up. This is the 28th best season of Survivor, I think. The 27th best season. It's been a long year. All right. Yeah. The 27th best season of Survivor. We'll talk about it next week. Aaron, it's on your Survivor Mount Rushmore.
No.
Yes.
Oh my God. Wait, is it Marquesas?
No.
Guatemala. I love Guatemala. Wait, why is Guatemala so low? Okay, see, this is what happened. It's this middle school era of seasons. The two forgotten seasons, I would say, are Guatemala and Fiji, and I think that's why they're this low. Is because the audience is like, oh, I kind of don't remember it. I'm just gonna put it low, but they really should be higher.
Okay,
these damn seasons, man. Why is Guatemala so low, man?
Was it reverse heat from Jordan Kalish that it got like sort of like he jinxed it?
And if Jordan Kalish is not talking about Guatemala,
he's not.
What?
He's not.
What? How?
Guatemala didn't want to. We asked him.
Guatemala was my first season, so this is my Nicaragua for a lot of people that started off with that. Yeah.
Next week, we're gonna have Mike Bloom and Taryn Armstrong to talk about Survivor Guatemala. That somehow Taryn is going to fit in watching a Survivor season into the Big Brother Canada schedule. Normally we do these on Wednesday nights. Taryn is recapping the Wednesday night Big Brother, but because we have Taryn, we're gonna move it up and record earlier in the day on Wednesday. So perhaps we'll be live to cover Guatemala for next Wednesday when we talk about the 27th best season of Survivor. But we still have more Fiji to talk about because the patron feedback show is coming up this weekend. I will be live with Stan Tsai Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific to get into that. Of course, you can find out about that at robinswebsite.com/patron. All right. Let me tell you about what else is coming up here on Rob Has a Podcast. Okay. Over the weekend, Anthony Robertson will join us. Very much looking forward to catching up with Anthony with T-Bird. If you missed it last week, we talked to Dawn Meehan. I haven't talked to Dawn in 8 years before that. We had watched Caramoan and South Pacific back-to-back, so it was a great time to catch up with Dawn, and very interesting interview about Dawn's experience on talking with T-Bird, and I can't wait to talk about Fiji with Anthony. Of course, on Wednesday night, we had our Big Brother Canada 9 panel. Taryn was live with Asia and Jason Reed, and of course, had a breakdown of the veto episode from Big Brother Canada. And then on Thursday, I'm sorry, we're going backwards. Tuesday, the Wives of News AF got together for the Wives of News AF special. Check out my wife Nicole, Danny's wife Liz, and Tyson's wife and fellow survivor Rachel on the Wives of News AF special from Tuesday, which was a lot of fun. And then, of course, coming up, check out becoming a patron of Robin's Podcast. It's the first day of April. Great time, the best time to jump on in and become a patron. Check out everything we have going on our patron podcast feed. We are going to have with the aforementioned Jordan Kalish. It is going to be patron Survivor Trivia Night on Friday. That's going to be live in the patron Facebook group, plus all the other great patron content that we have coming up. You can support your favorite RHAP podcast by becoming a patron at robinswebsite.com/patron. And starting this month, I'm going to be doing a monthly meet and greet orientation with our newest patrons at the end of the month. So go to robinswebsite.com/patron for more about that. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Okay. Of course, and on social media, you can catch us at Robinson Podcast on Twitter or at RHAP Grams on Instagram. Okay. Gia, this was so nice to get the podcast with you.
I know. I had so much fun. This was, I did one previously with David Bloomberg, and it's great to be back to be doing the podcasting again. I'm really excited. This was a dream come true to talk about Fiji.
Okay. Well, I hope we could talk more Survivor in the future and not just about Survivor Fiji. Where can people keep up with you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Classically Gia. I have a lot of more Fiji propaganda on there to highlight why I love that season. I also talk a lot about Marquesas too, if you're interested in that. Right now, I'm doing some write-ups for Inside Survivor on Big Brother 9. So I have a lot of Big Brother 9 content right now, too.
Big Brother Canada 9?
And Big Brother Canada 9, yes.
Okay, yes, because Big Brother US 9.
Big Brother 9, yes. I should differentiate. Yes,
yeah.
That'd be a whole different write-up. And but also I just wanted to take a moment to highlight the Survivor Diversity Campaign page, which is at SURV Diversity. I'm one of the super fans that are helping to run the page. CBS has made a new initiative to cast at least 50% of BIPOC contestants during their future seasons. And we have a lot of great updates on our page and highlight a lot of our contestants of color, both in Fiji and in all of our other great seasons. So I highly recommend that if you are not following it yet, to give it a follow now.
Okay. All right. Gia, thank you so much. And then Aaron, where can people keep up with what you're doing?
Oh goodness, I'm just getting my life together. I finished school a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, so congratulations.
Thank you. I'm just ran to get my vaccine and then start applying to new jobs. Just getting life back together. That's really my focus for the time being. But yeah, I'm on Twitter at AA Robertson 94.
Yeah.
And I'll be doing music for random things
Yes.
and talking about my favorite reality TV show. So,
Aaron, I meant to ask you that
Yeah.
that if you were, no, I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Mhm.
as you were watching this, did you have any thoughts of like, oh, that would have been a wand off if I was watching Survivor Fiji live?
Yeah, I did have some wand-off ideas. I definitely know that Nick Fishman, immediately after every episode, would have already sent me the lyrics of the song so I could just start recording it right away. Yeah, I definitely a fun season to wand off for it, for sure.
Okay. All right. Should people send you wand off ideas? You don't have to make them. Just
Please do.
yes.
I'm very curious to see
That'd be
what
fun to
people would.
follow
Yeah,
on Twitter to get that
yeah.
feedback from listeners. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And don't make them though. We're just joking around about like song parody ideas from this season. Don't
Yeah.
make 7 wand offs tomorrow.
Okay, I'm not.
I'll tell
I won't.
Josh Wigler. Okay.
I know. Josh Wigler. I'm trying to do less. I'm trying.
Okay. All right. Thank you all so much for checking out another roundtable. Come back next week for Guatemala season 27 in our countdown. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.